Morning.
Morning.
I was trying to get your attention there. I was waving to you, but our fire alarm's gone off 7 times since 4:45 this morning. So
wow.
when you hear really loud beeping, I may just have to turn my mic off for a bit. I'll retell this because it was at 4:44, somewhere in there, about 20 minutes before the alarm. And needless to say, we're all awake.
I was wondering why I heard your daughter.
Wide awake.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, final Tuesday of the month. Thanks so much for being with us on this 25th of August. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, and proud to be simulcast on the Landry Football Network, a 24/7 channel exclusively to Twitch.tv. Mark, how the heck are you? And it's not a loaded question.
Wide awake this morning, David. Eager to do the show. Haven't been this wide awake for a show maybe ever.
Mark, why is that?
4:42 this morning. We have a whole house alarm. The alarm starts going off with the woman's voice going, fire, fire, fire.
Oh.
Needless to say, I'm up, I'm out, and I'm upstairs.
Right.
My daughter's not in bed. Now, full freakout has begun.
Sure.
No one bothered to tell me when the fire alarm went off was that at some point in the middle of the night, the daughter got up and crawled into bed with us and was snuggled up next to mom. And while I'm in full-blown panic upstairs, my wife says, she's down here. But there's something going on in our house with our alarm system because the fire alarm has been going off roughly every 15 minutes since 4:42 this morning.
Oh.
You should at some point hear it during this morning's show.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, you think it's loud? Everybody's up, wide awake around here.
Well, Mark,
it works.
I hate to bring this to your attention, but it should be loud.
It's a fire alarm.
Thank you. Right. Now, is your house the only house in the neighborhood whose fire alarm is going off every 15 minutes? So are you
not that I walk around
the whole neighborhood up?
Been checked back, but the ones on the other side, I didn't. I saw a light when I took Frank out, but I don't know if it was from my fire alarm or they're just that old that they get up at 4:45.
Which is always possible. Right. We both know people who regularly just wake up at 5. Right, they're up. Don't even have to set an alarm.
Well, they had a dog, and they had put their dog down recently. So, I mean, it was a good morning, Ralph, good morning, Sam, between Jack and I, many a morning out there when neither of us want to talk. One of those grunts at around 4:40.
Right.
So
right.
I'm guessing he's still up. I'm guessing that's become habit.
Right. Well, I will say there's a dog in the neighborhood here who, I think it's a house dog for the most part, but at night they let the dog out and the dog just barks. Just incessantly barks. Before. Yes. And
it bothers you.
Well, I mean, I will say, and I can sleep through most anything, and I sleep through it. Don't get me wrong. I sleep through it, but I do hear it. All right. It will periodically wake me up. It's like, dog's barking again. And then I'll go back to bed. Now, there have been times where I have heard people in the neighborhood who can't take it anymore, and they have gone out onto their backyards or porches or lanais or whatever the case may be, and they have yelled, you do your damn dog and, take it inside and what have you. So far, it doesn't seem to be working. I don't exactly know what house the dog is at. There's a general direction that I think it's coming from, but can't pin it down. And of course, don't have the urge to really go walk and find it. Now, a fire alarm every 15 minutes, beginning at 4:42 a.m. I think at some point here in the next few minutes, after an hour and a half of that, I might, show up and go, hey, have you called somebody? Is there anything we can do to help?
No, as a matter of fact, I haven't. Do you not realize it's 4:42 in the morning? Who in the hell am I supposed to call?
Well, I don't know. There's got to be an emergency service for everything, right? For alarm companies and what have you. I mean, obviously the alarm is
charge a lot more than regular services. So I can assure you of one thing: this call will not be made until 9 a.m. Shut the door in your fat face and get the hell away. I would slam. You told me that. I'd punch you and shut the door in your face.
How about if I'll help contribute?
I'd go stand my ground. I might shoot you for that at 4:45.
Well, first off, let's take it easy now. All I am just asking, is there anything we can do to help? Okay. So
I've been Googling, I've been looking. I did not call the company yet. I will call, because if I call the company, then I have to go down and deal with it. My wife's not good. She's going to leave for work. So I have the show to do till 9. And then I've got my wife this morning because there was one red button on there. So there's a backup battery. And I'm like, maybe the backup battery is dead. And there was one of the alarms that had a red button. So I changed that. And then it went off again and she took it out. And I told her, I said, it's hardwired. It's a battery backup. That in theory, this only works if we've lost electricity. And then the beeping starts again, just like this faint beep. And I'm like, what's that? Are you doing anything? No, I just took that battery out. I said, well, could you put it back in? Because I think that's the beeping.
Right. So then we have the beeping to go along with the every 15 minutes alarm.
We haven't had one. We've only had one since I tried to hook up with you. So one since 5:30.
All right. Well, that's good. That's
Ratio
good.
Going down, David.
So we're just letting people know, if all of a sudden there is this alarm sound on the show, we're fine. We're fine. But, well, Mark may have a situation on his end. So the top of the, but you guys are up. I was wondering why it was your daughter was wide awake and talking to you a few minutes before 6 o'clock. I'm like,
now
wow.
you know.
Wow.
Now you know.
Wow, the 6-year-old were up early this morning.
What I really get from 5 to 6 is quiet.
Sure.
There's no noise. I read a few stories, get ready for today with the day when, take the dog for a walk, have a little coffee. And you don't even talk to me until 6:01.
No, you know what?
I hear to you most days are, how the heck are you? And this morning I was trying to get your attention saying, hey, I wanted to just let you know, if there's a loud beeping at any point during the show, I'm going to turn my mics off. I just thought it would be helpful to tell the co-host that I might have to check out for a couple of minutes. And we have 2 cameras. We can see one another. And I'm waving at David. I'm pointing to his, like, my ear, like, I got to tell you something.
No, I don't. You know what? I have, and this is just something in the last few weeks I've decided.
Yes, it is.
I've gone all Regis on you. I have gone all Regis on you. Regis made it a point to not talk to Kathy Lee or Kelly at all. At all. The first words that he would say to them would be when they would meet in the hallway and they were walking out together. That was his thing. He wanted it to be spontaneous. And so we used to talk a little bit. I've decided, you know what? Since his passing, and I saw a few shows and what have you, I have. Ever since Regis's passing, I've gone all Regis on you. I don't talk to you at all.
No, and the funny thing about this approach to the show is that in Act 1, when we were in the afternoons, particularly me selling, because David for the last couple of years had been relegated to just doing the show by his own choice.
Right.
So I would come in a little late, and we would have a 10, 15-minute, hey, what direction we going in, how are we going to do this? And, Regis did an hour, 40 minutes, basically.
Right.
And he had to be spontaneous for 11, the beginning of the show. After that, the thing was done.
Correct.
We do 3 hours. I've been trying like hell in Act 2 to get, like, before, hey, you got a poll question idea? This.
Right.
And he has ignored me. And I know exactly how his wife feels when he's watching a game on a Sunday in the house.
Once again, what do I tell you? You have to make eye contact with me.
You were looking at the computer. I'm doing this job. I can't get any more eye contact than that.
Exactly. All right. I am intentionally not making eye contact with
And it
you.
is, and as it's pointed out in the Twitch chat room, that I was the one that didn't want to talk, otherwise leaving. Now I want to talk, but that was after the show. That was after the show. David wanted to break things down, talk more, wanted me to hang out till 7 o'clock in the studio, and I had no business being there past 5:57.
Right. Mark was packing up as I was like doing the final 20 seconds.
Oh yeah. I do the good, the bad, and the ugly. David's wrapping the show up, and I am loading the backpack and getting me out of here.
Yep.
Now, Act 2, we always have a conversation after the show. Sometimes with the Twitch audience. Sometimes we hang up on them so we can talk about things that we can't talk about in front of our Twitch audience. Politics. David and I have maintained a very good relationship because we can have long political conversations that agree to disagree without being disagreeable. But we don't do it with anyone else.
Right.
We've learned that anyone else, that becomes a conflict. He and I, we can look at each other and get angry and then laugh about it 4 seconds later.
But the rest of you, you're all too disagreeable.
Well, we have started and I give everybody this advice. If you just treat this like it's a Sunday football game and break it down with who you think is going to win based on the tactics, it's a lot more enjoyable instead of getting into this guy or that guy.
Yes, I agree.
And that's how you and I do most of it. Hey, Pennsylvania is getting closer. This, and that, and that's how we talk politics. We do it just like we would talk about the Lakers Portland game, although that was over with at 15-0.
Yeah. Well, yesterday was Kobe's birthday. It was Mamba Day.
Well, actually, Sunday was Kobe's birthday. He and I share the same birthday, but at 8/24, his two numbers, so he gets 2, and he should get 2.
Well, they retired both of them. He played just about the same amount of time wearing both jerseys, and at one point, the play was stopped last night, and the score was 24-8 Lakers. And a few people took note of that. All I know is the Lakers led by 29 at the half. LeBron had 22, and the Lakers had put 80 up on the board at halftime. And Phil Mickelson, and Dustin Johnson, looked at the Lakers' point total at halftime and said, wow, you guys are going low. That's something right there. Man, oh, man.
The only reason I even stuck it out, one, I had the Avs game on, and I was trying desperately to watch as much of Avs stars as I could, but I was getting tired. And I'm like, I want to go to bed. But Barkley, for the third straight game, has guaranteed
a Portland win,
a Portland victory.
Right.
And so when I watched the pregame and Barkley doubling, tripling, quadrupling down,
right,
and they are down 15-0, they get down in the 20s. I mean, they just get goat rodeoed.
Yes.
They were awful, and the Lakers were good.
Lakers didn't miss, it seemed, for about 15 minutes.
No, they really didn't. Davis is making every shot he takes. Every kick-out's going in. I mean, they looked invincible. And now I'm to the point where I just need to stick this till halftime.
Right.
I really just need to watch this. And they start with 3 tweets of people showing, different solid tweets of, what Chuck's acting like. At one point, Shaq broke out his belt. And he was hitting himself with it. And he's whacking himself. Just earn. You know what this is? Dad ever do this to you? And Ern's like, no. Yeah, my dad was a sergeant. This was his one of choice. Chuck, this is getting your ass whooped. I mean, I just knew halftime was gold. You got to suck it up to get through that halftime.
Listen, there's a lot of differences between TNT and ESPN and their coverage of the NBA. But if you don't watch the NBA and you just you've heard about, the Inside the NBA show on TNT, and, you've heard about how ESPN covers the NBA. If you just wanted to know the difference in how the networks approach the association, Turner re-signed Shaq yesterday. And in their press release, and you know how normal press releases go, Mark, you wrote what? A couple thousand?
Of them. Yeah.
Right. Thousands of them. Thousands over the years 20
Season
plus
tickets
years.
call 948-78.
You're right. I mean, the stuff. Right. But before you
over here for crying out loud.
Before you could just cut and paste and what have you, and you had to continuously write out the same mundane stuff. All right. But Turner sends out a press release yesterday in which they say, and he has more endorsements than we can list in this press release. But Turner just simply announced that they've re-signed Shaq for a few more years. So once again, the diesel, the big fella, life is good for the big fella. A nice addition to that show a handful of years ago. That's worked.
Every part of it. I mean, even their social distancing table worked.
Right.
I have not much paid attention to intermission side by side. And I actually liked the NHL crew last night with Sharp and Anson Carter and Liam McHugh. I think Anson Carter and Sharp play off each other well. They've got good energy, but they're nobodies.
Right.
It's not like you have Messier or a Gretzky or a Lemieux in that room.
Right.
I mean, because you do, when you're talking about Chuck and Shaq, you're talking about all-time greats.
Oh, yeah. Two of the, when they came out at the end of the 20th century with the 50 greatest players in NBA history, they were both on the list.
Which is remarkable that they're both in the same studio. It's remarkable that TNT pulls this off.
Two Hall of Famers and
that
Kenny
are
Smith.
good.
And Kenny Smith won a national championship and 2 NBA titles. Right.
Yeah, he brings something.
Yeah. I mean,
he has more credentials, David, than basically anybody doing the studio for NBC for hockey.
Well, yes. Yes,
and that's what bad. And I get that hockey's a secondary sport here and all that, and in Canada it may be a little bit different. But for the life of me, they can't get a better player than that on there. It baffles me when I'm watching the two side by side, and all back to the mom test. Walk any mom into that room and say, "Tell me one guy on the right if it's hockey." They wouldn't know any of them. That's Shaq and that's Charles Barkley.
Correct. I believe it's called star power, Mark.
You got it.
I believe it's what they have. Yes. So, a lot going on yesterday with the NBA, a little bit going on with the NHL. I love it when a coach gets fired within 24 hours of the season ending. Those are my favorite firings. Okay, well, so-and-so is probably going to lose his job. Those stories barely hit the paper, if you know what I mean. I mean, I love it when guys get fired almost before the story can be written that so-and-so is likely to be fired. And the 76ers did that with Brett Brown yesterday. Boom, done. Not even 24 hours after getting swept by the Celtics. Out of here. I don't know if they should stop there, by the way. And everybody says all these great things about Elton Brand and what have you. And if you look at his moves individually, they seem like solid moves. All I know is the product's getting worse.
They definitely took a major step back this year.
Now, it didn't help. I mean, they had to face the Celtics without Ben Simmons. I mean, that's a fairly big deal. All right, you're not going to get any sympathy from Celtics fans because they've had, major injury on top of major injury. It seems like 3 of the last 5 years entering the NBA playoffs. All right. But I mean, the Sixers, they have a big 2 and number 2 was out. So, I mean, we all knew they were going to lose to the Celtics. I mean,
they did that their head coach was getting fired.
Right.
This is nothing that is any surprise to anybody following the sport. Right. The question now comes, are they going to deal Ben Simmons? I mean, that's the question.
Or Embiid. And this is, I find as a fan, how is it that you want your players to handle a loss? What is it you want to hear from your best players after you're eliminated from the playoffs and your season is over? All right. I will say this, Mark, as a fan, forget as a sports talk show host, as a fan, I don't want to hear, well, I hope to play my whole career here, but it's a business, and if I get dealt, it's really, okay. Can you give me 6 seconds of this hurts? Okay, can you just give me a little bit? This sounds like it does. Joel Embiid sounded after they got swept as if, well, if I stay in Philly, fine. If they trade me, that's fine too. Well, okay, then I'm inclined to trade you. I got to be honest with you.
So if
I really am.
Philly my whole life, you would not trade him then.
Well,
because,
he said no.
He
said it, but there was no nothing behind it. He said depending on what part of the quote you want. Did he say the words that you wanted to hear? He did at one point say, I want to play my whole career here. But it's just, how about, can you be honked off? Can you be like, this is unacceptable?
I don't know after
my
4-0.
stomach.
I really don't know after 4-0 you're going to stand up there. When you're down 3-0, when Ben Simmons is out, I'm sorry. In some cases, David, I think the conclusion. And I think just sitting there having to answer questions in a Zoom after that time in the bubble, I'm not necessarily giving anybody a pass, David, but we have programmed these athletes to not give us anything.
Trust me, we know.
And then when they give us something, we crush them. And then, and I don't mean you, but you know what I'm saying. Then the one guy gives his truth. We spend 4 hours of every show crushing the guy who gave us something.
And that drives me crazy. And for the record,
we don't.
Yes. Miller and Moulton are consistent about one thing. We ask the athletes and coaches and the GMs to give us the truth. And when they give us the 6 seconds of truth, we don't crush them over it. Okay, we don't. We say thank you. We may not agree with it, but we do not crush them. We go, thank you for giving it to us.
We've taken some to task because what they've said's been either wrong or we disagree with, and we've said why. But in that, what David said is true. We're not knocking him for saying it. We're thanking him for saying it, because without that, we have nothing. And we've programmed the athlete to not say anything, because if he does, he gets crushed. And then when he doesn't, we get mad because he doesn't say anything. And I don't know what, what's his face? You're the Blue Jackets coach there, Torts. They want John Tortorella gets in there, and they've just got done losing. They beat Toronto, which was a pretty solid win for them to get into the quote unquote playoffs, because they were an underdog. And then they go play Tampa, who they had beaten the year before. They play a 5 overtime game in game 1 and lose. Trust me, they win game 1, we may have a different series.
Sure.
That's a big blanking deal, a 5 overtime game to the mental health of a team. And so after they lose the series, someone asks them the question, well, now that it's over, can you just kind of take us inside what it was like being in the bubble and playing and what this all means? And he looks up after losing 4-1 and says, what is that? I'm not gonna sit here and talk about any moral victory. Goodbye, guys. And got up and left. Now, you don't want to go first with Torts, because you can't give that kind of question, because you've ruined it for everybody else.
That's true. And that's a whole different. We could do a segment one day about press conference etiquette. All right, you've got to ask the standard meat and potato stuff first. You've got beat writers, you've got TV people. They need their quick generic quotes. Then you can venture off the reservation a little bit, start to ask some questions. You cannot go off the reservation early in the post-game interview. Can't do it, because that's what happens. You get guys to get up and walk. So that member of the media, besides it, you can't ask that question in that order. Can't do it.
So, you're going to get one or the other. And we rip Torts for being Torts. And I defend him for that answer, because it was a horse blank question.
But listen, though, at least you saw, as a Blue Jackets fan, okay, how much the loss bothered your coach. All right, it just bothered him. I
Has
can't
there
put this
ever
in
been any
perspective.
doubt
We
of the
lost.
heart of Joel Embiid as a Sixer? He's been the heart and soul of this team throughout, hasn't he?
He's not in the best of shape. He's, it's if he is the heart and soul of your team, he's your best player. But I think part of the problem is that he is looked at as the heart and soul. And I'm sorry, with the way Joel Embiid is currently wired, if he's the heart and soul of your team, you're not going to win squat. He doesn't take it seriously enough. Hey, Barkley got criticized for this. All right. I mean, there were people that walked up to Barkley. Now, Barkley played every day as opposed to Embiid, who doesn't. Okay. But there were folks that said to Barkley, it's tough to take you seriously when you're not in as good a shape as you could be. And you're a great player, but you could be better. And you're our best player, so we need you as good as you can possibly be, especially when it was, look who we're trying to beat. Look who we have to go through to win. We got to go through Michael and the Bulls. You need to get in the best shape of your life to have a chance for us to win. But that's all. It's just, and Mark, I will say this. If you look back over the last 50 years in Philadelphia, you look back at the athletes that they like, all right, for better or worse, they like their athletes who outwardly give a damn. It's an underdog city for being one of the 10 biggest cities in our country. Not just, Rocky. You took a look at the Philly. They liked Larry Boa more than they liked Mike Schmidt.
Right.
Okay. You look at the hockey.
They loved Tug McGraw because he was a fiery reliever who came in there and wore his heart on his sleeve with every pitch, win or lose.
They loved Pete Rose. Absolutely loved Pete Rose.
And one of my favorite Rose memories, he did more in Philly than he did in Cincy, because I think the Philly turf was even harder. That third out,
the bouncing the ball,
and I remember that more. And I loved the Reds, and I loved Pete Rose as a kid. So I remember him as I'm young. I'm young enough to remember, or old enough to remember as a Red, but not really like you. That 4 years is big in that early part of the your memory Red machine. But I do remember him with the Phillies slamming that ball and thought it was just the coolest damn thing in the world.
So I don't know, he could excel. Joel Embiid might be fine in Phoenix. I don't know if that's going to work in Philly. That's all. And then we could go through, Mark, the hockey. I mean, look at the hockey players. Philly fans never loved Lindros.
Nope.
Never loved him.
No, they liked Keith Primo more than they liked Eric Lindros.
John LeClair.
Oh, they loved John LeClair.
More than Eric Lindros. All right. And we could go through all the Phillies teams. I mean, that's who their fan bases, are attracted to, for better or worse. But that's all. Just an observation. Miller.
NBA talk. Joel Embiid, NBA talk to kick
kind of broad.
That's why we don't talk before the show. That is exactly why the spontaneity of Miller and Moulton will reign supreme.
Or of Regis and Kelly. I don't know. One or the other. Just trying to have half the run. Miller and Moulton. The starting five is next. We will have to come up with a poll question. We got credit for our poll question yesterday for one of our biggest poll question critics.
That's all right. We got criticized by somebody else. We'll match the good with the bad, the starting five, and another poll question, all coming up in the baseball hour on Miller and Moulton.
Right.
We may not even talk about baseball. Fox Sports Radio streaming at millerandmoulton.com, and you are looking live at twitch.tv.
Swinging a foul ball. To catch a foul ball. Somebody made a good catch down there. It's on every fan's bucket list. Got yourself a foul ball. The chance is slim.
So,
Heckle Hyde very quickly about trading Embiid. And if we got an NBA guy coming on later, and I may ask this a few times over the next couple of weeks, can you win a championship in the NBA now if your best player is a center?
Baseball is here.
That's what I'm wondering. I mean, if you think about it, I don't believe we've had an NBA champion whose best player was a center since the Spurs with Duncan in 07. Because even when they won it and they beat the Heat in 2014, Duncan wasn't their best player anymore.
Nature Valley.
depends on the definition of center. Now we've got 7-1 guys that are.
Well, and you could play, like Embiid even says, I'm going to have to add more to my outside game. I'm dominant on the block, but if they don't want me on the block because that's how we play now, he goes, I'm going to have to be better on the
He's going to have to. Simmons is going to have to, too. Last night you watched, it's not even just three-pointers. You watched Davis last night. He didn't miss a mid-range jumper. You start adding that, you crush teams. They didn't know what to do early on. They had nowhere to. They were nuts. Just quickly, David, you have Netflix, right? It's good morning, Seth. You may like this too. So yesterday, Seth's a little young, but I love any mob show. I don't know about you, but there's a Netflix documentary. I did 2 episodes. It's about the FBI taking down the mob in the 80s. And it's all about the wiretapping, Giuliani's RICO with these 3 FBI. The first 2 episodes pretty good. They got that Michael Francese's or whatever, who's been on every one of these mob shows. I've watched the first 2, Seth. It's very good. It's very much on the FBI side. You're not getting much into the mafiosos, which is cool because we've seen that over and over and over again. He has stories about himself. He's fantastic. Michael Francesi. Yeah, that's it. It was, I'll put it this way, 2 down. I don't know how many to go, but I'll knock out a couple today.
Crispy bacon and onion rings and topped with tangy barbecue sauce. But we added spicy jalapenos and melty pepper jack cheese. We took a burger that was already.
Yeah, he was the one. They had a way to. He was talking about a gas deal they had where someone came to him and thought he had a way to not pay the tax on gas, and they were illegally selling gas. He said he was making. Did he say 800,000 a week?
Wow.
The way they got in. We all knew they had things to do with the unions, but when you start looking at 1980s New York, David, that's why I thought you'd be fascinated, and just the sheer control that they had of every facet of that city.
Oh yeah.
And essentially, they ran the country.
Yes.
They go back to the FBI director calling all the FBI guys in going, we've got to stop this because they had no plan. They were all they weren't talking to one another. But it was the first 2 were, and I love that stuff, so I get a little giddy about this. But he'd scare me to death, Seth. He's killed people. When David asked him the question, did you ever kill a guy? He'd say, how many?
This message is sponsored by the Florida A&M University Medical Marijuana Education.
Hey, are we on air today? I certainly hope so. I have not yet watched that.
What's Arch talking about? Hey, we are on air today. PTSD. The hell are you talking about?
We've been on air
and on air every day. Yeah, we
were. No, we were.
We were. Yeah, we were.
Yeah, Twitch, YouTube,
yeah,
Fox Sports Radio.
Yeah,
whole gang was here.
Uh-huh.
Florida showroom, and it's conveniently located in Cape Coral. With more than 75,000 frameless shower doors installed, no one has more experience and 5-star reviews than Morning Shower Door.
And by the way, Seth, I don't know. I know you like your music. I don't know if you like them. The Go-Go's documentary on Showtime's excellent.
What signal, Arch?
Yeah, I heard 1240 was off yesterday, but we were on the radio yesterday.
Yeah.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
What signal, Arch? Oh.
Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
25 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us, Miller and Moulton. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream at millerandmoulton.com, and we broadcast live a variety of places, but the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. Sign up for them. They are free. You can purchase a subscription and do without the commercials and get a few other perks and all that. And if you want to go that route, we would appreciate it. Time now for
the starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting Five. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Remember when Orlando shocked Milwaukee in game 1 of their series?
Yes.
Yeah. Milwaukee's won 3 straight, all by double figures, 121-106 yesterday to lead that series 3-1. If Milwaukee wins, they're going to face the Heat because, and I thought this was going to be a long series. In fact, I picked Heat in 7. Yeah, it was Heat in 4. 99-87 the final. Did you hear this Jimmy Butler stat? This is from Tim Reynolds of the Associated Press out of Miami.
I did not.
So Jimmy Butler in the last 4 years has played with 3 different teams: Philly, Minnesota, and the Heat. Jimmy Butler in his last 11 games against the Indiana Pacers is 11-0 for 3 different teams. Heat swept the Pacers. They'll face Milwaukee next when Milwaukee takes care of Orlando.
Indiana played really hard yesterday, and they had a third quarter lead, 4 points. And I had it on without volume, and I'm just kind of half paying attention. It's a 3-0 series, for crying out loud. And all of a sudden, Jimmy Butler got hot, Miami got hot, and it went from 52-48 Indiana to 62-52 Miami. And I went, what the hell? Just because I don't look at Miami as a team that can go on a 12-0 run like that so quickly. And they did and never looked back.
The Heat match up really well with Milwaukee, too, and they have played them tough. That will be an excellent series. Oklahoma City is even their series with Houston at 2.
Really played well yesterday.
And especially down the stretch, and Houston had a few key turnovers late, 117-114 Thunder, that series 2-2. Lakers, meanwhile, as we mentioned earlier, up 24-8 at one point and led by 29 at the half in a 20-point, 135-115 win. They're up 3-1 over the Blazers. 76ers fired Brett Brown yesterday after 7 years at the helm. Hockey, Islanders got off to a good start. The Flyers, Mark, have scored 11 goals in their 7 playoff games. 11. That's it. They had just enough offense to get by Montreal. They're going to have to do a little bit better than that if they're going to want to beat the Islanders. 4-0 New York.
And you can't go down to spit to the Islanders because they just pack it all in and make it really, really difficult to play against them. They are advantageous. They don't get chances. When they do, they're seeming to bury them. And, you're right. But offensively, they're not getting the puck to the net. Well, if you're watching all these games, but, Colorado lost yesterday. In the first period, they just, we had a bad first game. Let's throw everything at the net. Philadelphia is making that extra pass of which power play fans of hockey yell shoot. Well, they might be right here. Shoot the damn puck.
Flyers' top 4 goal scorers, who all scored more than 20 goals in the regular season, combined have 1 goal so far in the playoffs. Their best players are not getting it done.
There's an interesting stat about hockey, David. 100% of the shots not taken don't go in.
Meanwhile, the Stars up 2 spit on Colorado. This series changed in the first period of game 1, in which Colorado lost their starting goalie and their best defenseman, Eric Johnson. And both of them are coming back to haunt them. Dallas won game 1 5-3, and they scored 4 in the second last night to win game 2 5-2. People forget this. The Blues won the Cup last year. In the second round, the Stars took the Blues to 7 and lost in double overtime. The Stars may have been a goal away from the finals a year ago. Major League Baseball, Mark. The Marlins, 11-8 over the Nats. Toronto beat the Rays 6-4. Twins over the Indians in a battle for first in the Central, 3-2. Cleveland still without manager Terry Francona. He had surgery last week. They thought he'd be back by now. He apparently is also going to miss the Twins series. Cubs 9-3 over the Tigers. Cubs start to go on the road, Mark. If you take a look at the Cubs right now, record-wise, one of the three best teams in baseball. They have played 75% of their games in the cozy confines. So the Cubs are going to have to go on the road. It helps when you're going to Detroit 9-3. Texas 3-2 over the A's. Milwaukee 4-2 over the Reds. Mark, don't forget, trade deadline is 6 days away. And I mention that because there are teams here like Texas, Cincinnati, who there were some expectations, particularly with the expanded playoffs. And if you're the GM of the Cincinnati Reds, you've got a lot of guys who could get you something. But you also could play a little bit better here and sneak into the playoffs and be a thorn if you got into the playoffs. What do you do?
What about Boston, too, on that? Boston's not making the playoffs.
Oh, no. If you're Boston, it's sell.
No, but I think
sell.
there's enough there that they can get. There's got to be a few pieces that people would want.
Yes.
That they would part with as well. Not all of them.
A couple guys you have to take salary on. Jackie Bradley, I think, is in the final year of a contract. So, I don't know what he'd get you. He may just get you a middle reliever or something like that. But, yeah, I think and remember, new GM in Boston, who has not done a whole heck of a lot here to put his stamp on the organization. My guess is he will in the next 6 days. Cardinals 9-3 over the Royals. Colorado 3-2 over Arizona. Houston, they went to San Diego, got swept. What's a good way to get back on the winning track? Play the Angels. 11-4, Houston a winner. But, Mark, in that game, Albert Pujols with an RBI single to move into second on the all-time RBI list. He passed A-Rod. 2,087 RBIs for Albert Pujols. He's 210 RBIs behind Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron had nearly 2,300 RBIs.
Just for those of you that are young and like baseball, use this Google thing and go to Baseball Reference and just look at his year-by-year numbers, because he never hit 50.
Never hit 50 home runs, and yet had 755 in his career. Also, lifetime 300 hitter.
Yeah, look at the doubles.
There's many a great player. Willie Mays ended up, I think, at 298. Mickey Mantle ended up at 298. There's many a great player who hangs on a couple years too long, and their lifetime batting average dips just below 300. Hank Aaron did hang on a year or two too long, still ended up, I think, 305. Hank Aaron, lifetime hitter. So how about that, by the way? 305, 755, and 2297. And yet was not a unanimous selection of the Hall of Fame. Not even close. All right, idiots. NFL news. Roger Goodell comes out yesterday and says, yeah, we were wrong a few years ago. We were just wrong about this whole kneeling Kaepernick thing. And if the players want to kneel this year, yeah, I know there's a rule on the books that says they can't, but we're not going to enforce it. I'll just let you know that right now. If you like it, you like it. You don't like it, we don't really care. Now, my guess is that he's got 30 owners going, what?
Exactly. Because I will tell you, look, I have no problem for any stance for social justice. Chris Paul played his ass off yesterday. And I know they've said they're going to do it, but when the first question is, talk about the fourth quarter performance, and he wants to talk about social justice, all right, then you give the answer, okay. Then you go back to the play-by-play guy, and he gives me 5 more minutes on the social justice. David, I'm aware of everything. I am more aware than most people of what's going on in the world, and I am for a lot of causes. In that moment, it reminds me of Zach Johnson when he won the Masters, thanking God after hitting the 4-iron. And you and I joked and said, yeah, but God didn't have the 4-iron on 13. You did. And that's...
Well, and listen, now we did just have the shooting in Kenosha.
No, I know. I say this.
So,
I got you. I say this though because the NBA, their numbers dipped.
Oh, yeah.
Now, they dipped badly, but that was just the round robin. We will see what the playoffs do if they tick back up. The NFL had bad television numbers the year that there was a controversy about kneeling. It's another election year. Will this hit them in the ratings book. When sports are going through the damn roof, we're not going to have college football. I'm just bringing up the facts.
What do you
Well,
mean we're not going to have college football?
Well, we're not going to have it in 2 of the 5 conferences.
Oh, okay. Whew. I got worried here. I'm like,
No,
wait,
but
did I just lose more work? What the heck?
No, you're not going to lose, David. The ACC and the Big 12 could blow up. The SEC's playing football, okay?
Oh, thank goodness, Mark. Wow, scared the. Whew.
But you know what I mean. This is the only time they had a downtick, and it is very interesting that they are going that Roger picked now to do that.
Right. Other NFL news: the Dolphins announced they're going to have fans at their games. Now they're only going to have 20% capacity, so that means about 13,000 people. No tailgating, no cash. You can only pay by credit. It's interesting. They're literally going to tell you what time you have to enter the stadium. They're going to have staggered entrances. You know, you're going to be 12 o'clock. You're going to be 12:15. You're going to be 12:30. You know, that sort of deal. There will be no actual tickets. Everything's going to have to be electronic. So you're going to have it on your phone. But the Dolphins, and that also means the Hurricanes, will have 13,000 fans at their games to start.
The crowds are going to be the same.
Well, right. Yeah, they don't have to change anything.
Do they have Florida State at home this year? I mean, that's the only game it would affect.
Right. Well, it's to start the season. It's to start. And Tampa Bay expected to sign 11-year veteran center A.Q. Shipley today. He played 5 years with Arians in Arizona. He'll come in and be the backup along the line. One other NFL note, tough loss for the Browns yesterday. Rookie safety Grant Delpit tore his Achilles. He obviously will miss the season. Between Earl Thomas getting released, Delpit with the Achilles. Did I miss it? Is Eric Reed still unemployed? I've got to think that phone rings soon. I mean, he's actually played well the last 2 years with Carolina. Phil Mickelson's debut on the Champions Tour went okay. He had 11 birdies. He shot a 10 under 61. He only has a one-shot lead, though, over David McKenzie. But it went okay. His debut, he shot a 61.
And I think they're playing the same course that they played last week. So he just showed up and did this. They all played there the last 3 days. I think they're at the Ozarks. And I think that's where they just had it. I mean, you know, they're trying to jam these things in.
Right. Well, because the Champions Tour only started like 2 weeks ago.
They're just made for TV events.
Yeah, well, that's why.
I mean, this is Golf Channel programming.
Yeah, Monday through a Wednesday here, right? These are just chance for guys to put some money in the bank. And they missed out on a bunch of tournaments.
I knew what was going on, and yesterday when I got up, that one was, or after the show rather, that was on, and I'm like, this is yesterday's because
no.
And then they ran yesterday's tournament in the morning, and then at 6 o'clock we got today's tournament.
Right,
we had a doubleheader of senior golf.
Correct. So Phil with a 61 in his Champions Tour debut. Just trying to get some rounds in to get ready for the U.S. Open next month because he hasn't qualified for the second and final rounds of the Tour Championship. And that, Mark, at 12 minutes before the hour is...
The starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting Five. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
All right, we'll come back with our poll question of the day. We'll recap yesterday's results. We got a compliment on our question yesterday. Apparently, we also got a criticism. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
I don't know if we're going to see a big name opt out, and that would mean Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields at Ohio State. If you've already cemented your status as a top pick, are you going to stay? Are you going to risk this? The next few weeks are going to be interesting as players decide on their future and teams try to get ready for a very, very unusual season.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest.
Rich Beam with a 1 over for all of you wondering. So Kenny Perry, I end up watching 18 yesterday. Kenny Perry whiffed on 18 on Sunday.
Whiffed?
Whiffed on 18. He hits one near these rocks on the right side, like a rock wall. He's got to punch out to the fairway, and he tried to hood it a little bit, and the toe of the club caught the rocks, and he whiffed. Up 1 on 18.
Lost in a playoff.
Yeah.
We love Kenny Perry. Kenny Perry's awesome. Great interview, down to earth.
And he's playing with Longer. and they make the announcement because Perry just turned 60, like 10 days ago. Bernard Longer's won 10 times since turning 60.
Right.
I mean, come on. That one of the I don't know who the announcer was. He goes, "That's a career."
Yeah.
Yes.
A big part of enjoying a good
Well, not that anybody cares, but for the golf nerds out there, I mean, it is a healthy discussion. Irwin or Longer, the greatest Champions Tour player, because
care about improving people's lives.
I mean, Irwin won like 45 times.
Spalding and Dr. Spatafor really do care about helping people, and we're so glad they helped us.
They're excited.
Trevino was the first one to slaughter the Champions Tour.
Right. Because he took it reasonably seriously when he came out.
Because he had a chance.
And he made it. I mean, he had already made the tour because they were just playing.
Right. I mean, and Lee was like, I got a chance to make some real money here.
Oh, yeah.
And Lee was always into making money. So Lee took it seriously, had his health. And, for an hour, they had a contract with Lee in which Lee was going to be the dominant television voice of the Champions Tour. He agreed to go into the booth. And it was, I mean, you think about it, if we had Lee Trevino in the booth telling nothing. I mean, all he would do, he would see a golfer, he would tell a story.
I told you the story before. He showed up for our little event. They got him to come to Maple Hill. Our pro lost his daughter, infant death or whatever. So he had a tournament for the neonatal unit at Saginaw General Hospital every year. And we would always get Lon Hinkle and some other, nobody, if you will. I can't recall his name, but one year they paid the money and got Trevino. Trevino was an hour and a half late to the dinner because he was in our horse crap locker room drinking beer and telling stories. He just had a group in there and started drinking beer. My dad said we sat there and Lee just told stories for 2 hours. They finally had to come from upstairs and go, we really, because all the women aren't allowed in the men's locker room, obviously. Right. And all the tables are full. And they're like, Lee, we really need to get you to get upstairs. And then he still had to take a shower and change clothes because he was still in his golf clothes, just telling stories and drinking beers with the boys.
Do we have a poll question or no?
No.
Okay.
You really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next.
Let's see what the guy who hated last. He said he wants us to go to Hamilton, I think is what he said.
Hamilton?
Poll idea. If you could attend just one event with things back to normal, favorite sporting venue, favorite musician band concert, or Hamilton on Broadway. Does he know that we do a sports show?
It's not a bad poll question, by the way, but yeah.
Except for the Hamilton on Broadway part. I mean, I get it. Hamilton's terrific.
Seth, I didn't see Saban's press conference. I saw the one quote that got pulled from it in which he said, we're not playing for the money. We're playing because the kids want to play football. Well, I think we're playing more for the money, but the second part is true.
You're live.
Seven minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. How the heck are you? That's what we always wonder. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channel, simulcasting on the Landry Football Network, a 24/7 Twitch channel. You can always chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551, 239-479-5551. I can't believe we got some criticism for yesterday's poll question. I thought it was yours. I thought it was excellent. It made you think a little bit.
Yeah, I was a little shocked myself when all of a sudden this morning I get in here and at 10:14 last night, someone decided to take our poll question to task. Awful poll question for Monday. I live in Atlanta and love the NBA. You guys emphasize the way Moulton does when he's mad. Because the no was in all capitals.
There you go.
Hates the NBA, and all those old people love golf. Terrible group to give that question to. I'm not upset, just disappointed.
And yet, sir.
No. First off, you went disappointed? Who are you, my father?
Oh no, he's disappointed in us.
Not upset.
Oh
just
no.
disappointed.
Oh, that hurts.
Excuse me, sir.
Oh, that hurts. Oh no. Don't be disappointed in us. That's the worst. I'd rather you be mad at us than disappointed in us.
And the fact of the matter is that our audience, these hatred NBA people, 60% of them thought that Luka's performance was better.
That was our poll question. What performance was more impressive this weekend? Luka's 43 point, 17 rebound, 13 assist, hit the game-winning shot performance against the Clippers on Sunday, or the fact that Dustin Johnson won by 11, shooting 30 under par. And by a 60-40 percentile, you thought Luka's performance was more impressive. So there.
I was already when David was going to take a show off to have the listener guest host experience. And after you said you were disappointed, that just ended.
Oh, don't be disappointed in us. Just be mad. Be furious. I can't handle any more disappointment, honestly. If I disappoint any more people, I don't think I can take it.
How many times did your mother go disappointed with you?
Not very often.
Your grandfather did, though, right? We discussed this recently. Your grandfather was disappointed with you.
Disappointed in me.
My grandmother was disappointed in me once. And there's nothing worse. Because the grandparents, largely, there are no rules.
No, my mom just got mad. All right. I mean, my mom was pretty consistent. She just got mad. Okay. Her parents, though, would be disappointed in me. Oh, it hurts right now.
Miller and Moulton. Disappointing audiences for over 10 years.
Audiences
in 2 different time slots. A major disappointment.
Audiences, spouses, okay,
children,
family members, right.
Bosses.
And occasionally even ourselves.
Yep. We'll continue disappointing on the other side. Miller and Moulton. Look at Seth's comment.
Nope.
I've watched enough Mrs. Maisel where I get that joke, Seth.
Nope.
That's funny.
Although, Seth, I have to admit, I don't know that there's a whole lot of difference in the guilt between Jewish and Catholic.
Oh,
I've never
Dennis Leary thing that he does. The whole Dennis Leary when he was the Tigers White Red Sox games, where they're up in the booth, and he says, "I didn't really." What is he? He's Jewish. We got 2 Jews on this team, and Dennis Leary goes through the whole thing. It's the same Irish cat. It's the same bad food, the same guilt.
Right.
It might be Leary's best 3 minutes of his life, and I think he's hysterical. But he did an improv during that game that is legendary. And I actually watched it live with my father, and I've never laughed harder.
Don Orsillo, Jerry Remy in the booth, laughing.
Remy was holding the wall up.
Yeah, Remy was
done. There's a video of it where he's done. And Seth, it's right after Mel Gibson had gone all anti-Semitic at the cop, and he tears Mel Gibson down.
Yep. And
his line, "How's your father now?"
Now, Mel. Right. Says it twice. How's your father now, Mel? How's your father now? Right.
I know what I'm doing after the show today.
But I mean, the conversation that you can't have now, his Rescue Me partner there who was saying, we got any Jews on this here team?
Yeah. Kevin,
okay. And right. No. And Orsillo and Remy and immediately say Gabe Kapler.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
We got 2 Jews on this.
Well, then he says, do we have any more? Okay, and I think it was Remy who says Kevin Youkilis. And they go, oh, we got 2 Jews on this here team.
He would have gotten the trouble, though, because Javi Lopez, and he does make a little disparaging.
Yeah, that
one would get him in a lot of trouble today.
Yes, it would. Right, made fun of Javi's first name there.
Yeah.
Oh, Johnny Mac, I'm with you. I loved Rescue Me. Loved it.
Is it not the 2 of you, someone else that watched it? Because I know if you love it, you're both going to say it. Do you think that's a show that's worth going back and watching? Do you think it's holds water still.
If you like sarcastic humor,
No, I hate it.
then yes, it'll hold up.
All right.
It's a very Northeast show, though. It's that attitude, it's that disposition, it's that humor.
I kind of resemble that.
It's so.
Kevin Youkilis throws a kid a ball. What's Mel Gibson ever done?
Yep, exactly. Take that, Mel Gibson. How's your father now? How's your father now?
Thank God.
Man, oh man.
Wake up in the morning.
Now we still don't have a poll question.
No, we don't.
That's it. Miller
I drove, which made me happy. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
and Moulton.
Look at you, the man of the house.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like it's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
As we approach a couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels, and simulcast every morning now on the Landry Football Network, a 24/7 Twitch channel. You can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551, 239-479-5551. Some disappointment from some listeners in the first hour. We began the show by Mark announcing that beginning at 4:42 this morning, his fire alarm had been going off every 10 to 15 minutes. And so far, unless the sound is elsewhere in the house,
it has not gone off.
Apparently, what we needed to turn off your fire alarm was to start broadcasting. So the next time this happens, Mark, I will take one for the team, for your development, the neighborhood, and the Miller family. If it goes off again, you call me, because I always have my phone on. It serves as my alarm clock. Call me and say, the alarm's going off on again. All right. We need to start broadcasting. You know, we can go on Twitch anytime. We don't have to be on the radio yet. We can start streaming and go on Twitch. All right. And we'll just start doing a show, because apparently it's not take the batteries out and, play with the numbers and call somebody. Apparently, to turn your fire alarm off, you need to do a sports talk show.
That seems to be what it is, because it was going off during the time getting ready for the show. And we have a neighborhood Facebook page where people complain about dog poop, neighbors, parking,
everything.
We're wrong. I mean, it's
right.
I have written so many replies that I've deleted. It's not even funny. But I went to that website today because all the houses were built by the same people. There's a chance someone else has experienced a problem. I said, fire alarm going off every 15 minutes or so. It's hardwired. Obviously no fire. Anyone have this problem? One response. And thank you, Nadia, for being up so early. She said, yes, it could be the battery, a spider web inside, or it needs replacement. Now, I already had looked up reasons why the fire alarm could go off, and her spider web theory is not inaccurate. That actually would be what causes this. So now it looks like my day is going to be spent moving alarms to see if we have spider webs inside, because that sounds like a hell of a Tuesday.
Look, what are you doing?
To a poll question. What are you more fearful of, spiders or snakes?
Oh, snakes. I saw one walking on Sunday. And
you saw a snake walking?
Well,
they've asked that question for a long time. Hey, Darwin, go on.
I was walking
and
saw a snake. I should have explained that one a little bit better. No. It's a fair point. You make your living with words. You should make sure you communicate a little bit better. But although, Mark, let me tell you, there are some snakes that move so quickly. Okay, hell, they're not walking; they're running.
They move.
up until Sunday, I hadn't seen a snake in a couple months. And the last time I saw one was a black racer that I was on my front lawn. And this thing came out of nowhere. And the dog is 2 feet to my right. And that black racer made a beeline and went right in between the two of us. And I saw it at the last second. All right. And startled on the inside, didn't startle on the outside. The dog, meanwhile, just kind of casually glanced over her shoulder like, what was that? Huh? All right. And that snake didn't bite either one of us, just kept right on going and nestled underneath the house. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
We had a spider on this last vacation in North Carolina. My mother ended up, because I took a picture of it. It was and I'm not joking. It's the biggest spider I've ever seen. So she looked up what it was, and it was a wolf spider. And they don't even have webs. They're so big. So and even with that being said, spiders bother me, but not like snakes. I would probably go snakes. Close.
There's not much that scares me, but for whatever reason, I've never been crazy about snakes.
Could you go spiders, snakes, cockroaches? Because I will say those ugly bugs, maybe if we were doing a show on a women's channel, because all men are in charge of killing them.
Absolutely. Right. And please, it's one of the few things left in which we can show our manhood. Okay. Oh, something for me to kill, and then after that, I want to go change a light bulb. That's the height of, that's the height of what I can do. There's not much I can offer, Mark. I can explain the salary cap. I can kill cockroaches. I can, switch out light bulbs.
Well, David, there's something else you're going to have to explain to me. And it's why the AP did what they did. I saw this morning, and I thought it was done months ago. I thought this was something they did like in June or May. But are you aware that an AP preseason poll came out?
I didn't put it in my starting five because I think it's preposterous.
Thank you. So I see the poll, and I see another Twitter people that I follow had a poll question about the AP poll, and I'm like, the AP poll, six Big Ten teams are ranked in the AP preseason poll.
Exactly.
I want to give everybody, just so you know, and this may be like, to me, if you're a Big Ten or a Pac-12 fan, what's your level of honked off today? Because I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, that maybe through the weekend after that pathetic 12-person protest that had more media members than protesters, that I just thought the Big Ten had come to the conclusion that they know it's over. They're upset. They're disgruntled. But I think they've gone to that second state. They're no longer mad. They're just depressed. That's what I've gathered from Big Ten fan over the weekend. That now they're bummed out. And I don't blame them. Well, they went from bummed out to really honked off this morning, particularly if you're a Buckeye fan. Because Ohio State's preseason number 2. The Ohio State Buckeyes that are not playing football this year. Well, maybe in the spring. Penn State's ranked 7th. The Oregon Ducks are ranked 9th. Wisconsin 12, Michigan 16, USC 17, the Gophers 19.
Yes.
Utah 22, Iowa 24.
Correct. There are 9 Big Ten and Pac-12 teams that are ranked in the AP Top 25. So if you're Memphis and you're the first team out, you can either look at it as A, you're 26th, or B, you're 17th.
And from that point, you can see your way into the playoff. It's happened before.
I've got our poll question. All right. The AP Top 25. Is it either ridiculous that it includes the Big Ten and Pac-12 teams, or it is so 2020 and it's perfect? Which is it? Is it ridiculous or perfect?
The only problem with that is I almost need to see all of the above, because it is the most ridiculous. David,
you can't give people.
I know. But when you skip this in your starting 5, that's why I'm going, well, he didn't say anything, and this is too juicy to not say anything. So I was a little nervous to lead with it not talking to you, because I'm like, I'm double checking the date. Is this a wire from 2019? No. August 24th, 2020.
Right. Right.
Yep. NCAA.com. Now, they let by the way, sorry, David, no matter what happens on the field, the next AP poll will look different because voters were able to use all teams in the preseason poll. They can only rank teams that are scheduled to play going forward.
You know what is impressive to me is the group think going on, because the AP and the coaches have both released a poll. They released them 24 hours apart. Mark, it is stunning how members of the media and the coaches, now we have no idea who's voting for the coaches. I mean, it's a lot of times it's sports information directors on campuses, but it is remarkable how not only are the 25 teams nearly identical, but where they are ranked is nearly identical. Ohio State, second in both polls. Penn State, seventh in both polls. Oregon, ninth in both polls. Wisconsin, 12th in both polls. Michigan, 15 in the coaches poll, 16 in the AP poll. USC, 17 in the AP, 17 in the coaches. Minnesota, 19-1, 18th in the other. All right. Big difference with Utah, Mark. Big. The media has them 22nd and the coaches have them 20th. Huge disparity with Utah. All right. Iowa, 23rd in the coaches, 24th in the AP. I mean, and the 25 teams are nearly identical. I believe 23 of the 25 are identical. The group think that is going on. I mean, if you think that in politics, depending on your party of choice, that, there's not not enough group think going on. Sports world's got the political world beat, and at times, and I didn't think that was possible. All right, but that's absurd to me that the coaches and the media, the same teams in the exact same spots.
Do you want me to pull up the 1971 poll to tell you how much it looks the same in the top 10 or no? Why are you?
Now, hold on.
We've been doing the same votes for 40, 50 years.
Hold on. We've documented that, how the same, 7 of the top 10 from the 70s are the 7 of the top 10 now. We've documented that.
Clemson, probably not. Ohio State, yes. Bama, yes. Georgia, yes. Oklahoma, yes. LSU, probably not. Penn State, yes. Florida, no. Oregon, no. Notre Dame, yes.
By the way, UCF, 21st in both. That's right. Even UCF.
Ranked behind Cincinnati.
Ranked behind Cincinnati in the AP by a spot. Ranked ahead of them by a spot in the coaches. Can I get serious about this?
I don't know.
These ridiculous polls?
I don't know if it's possible to get serious about these polls, David.
Okay. Here's why I'm going to be serious about these polls. Because we have nine of the 25 that are from conferences that are not playing. Now, granted, 1 or 2 of the teams are ranked after UCF. But you can take UCF right now. Like Utah and Iowa are ranked behind them in the AP poll. So there are 7 teams.
Yeah,
so you can take 14. UCF from 21st to 14th. Okay. 14. And then in looking in the coaches poll, you've got Iowa who's behind them. So I think you've got 8 teams that are ranked ahead of them. So you could move them up, I think, to 13th. So they're 13th or 14th, basically. If you take the teams that are not playing out in front of them. Mark, let me ask you this. 13th or 14th. Same with Cincinnati, by the way, who's a spot above or below UCF. And obviously, they're going to have to play one another at some point. So for either one of those AAC schools, they are essentially preseason top 15. They're preseason top 15. And we know this year, Mark, there is more of a likelihood of the teams in front of them playing one another because there's more conference games. Do you think that's closer? Because, Mark, let's be honest, they normally start a year either unranked or in the 20s. They're essentially starting the year in the top 15.
All right, David, I'm going to be 100% serious. Don't jump me when I start early. Because the first thing I thought of when you did that this is exactly why the coaches and the AP had everybody included so they could put UCF and Cincinnati and Memphis from 20 on down, because it eliminates that argument. If they were 14 or 15 right now, it would be, hey, they're in the top 15 to start the season. So that's my first, and I'm not even being snarky when I say that, because there is such a wall in front of UCF to get in that playoff by the Power 5 conferences, even though there's only 3 of them. I've said all along, I would put them in this year. I would put Cincinnati, Memphis, UCF. If they throw a donut up, they're into me. I will say the thing that worries me the most for all 3 of them is the fact that we've got Memphis now is going to go from 26 to 15.
Or 18, 19, something like that. Yeah.
Well, they're 9 spots.
Yeah, okay, so that's 17.
Yeah, they'll go to 17. And, just based on this AP poll, Cincinnati goes to 13, UCF goes to 14, and Memphis is at 17. Well, someone's got to be able to beat all of those teams and then maybe beat Memphis again in a title game. I don't think that they're going to allow a one-loss AAC team in the tournament.
I agree with you there. I think that the AAC team's got to put a donut up on the board. If you want to have a really snarky poll question, which encompasses college football in 2020 altogether, all right, can we ask a poll question along the lines of, if everyone has 2 losses, all right, what team is more likely to be the 4th team in the playoff?
Alabama.
Undefeated UCF, Ohio State. Now, see, that's snarky. All right. If everyone
really
has
snarky
2
would have
losses,
been UCF or Nebraska, but that
okay. Well, it needs to be realistic. All right. I mean, if everyone has 2 losses, what's more likely? UCF, undefeated UCF makes the playoff. They just put Ohio State in.
And the really sad part about that is I'm afraid of that poll because Ohio State might win.
You know what's real? And UCF fan is going, you know what? They really would stick it to us like that. You know what? I could see them at the last minute going, well, we can't put UCF in. Who can we put in? Well, call Ohio State. They're just about ready to play. Speaking of which, remember North Dakota State? They haven't lost in like 3 years.
Right.
And they're 8 of the last 9 FCS national championships they've won. They had an early season game scheduled against Oregon this year. And remember, they wanted to play. Remember, their FCS isn't playing until the winter, but they had 4 games they could schedule and they wanted to play, and nobody would play them. Okay. And so then they said, well, I guess we'll just get ready for the winter. Well, their fan base, I still have a few friends in the Red River Valley there, and they're like, yeah, their fan base is like, you find some games. You need to play. We're not going to wait until January. And I mean, how much trouble can you get in? So North Dakota State announced yesterday they're playing like Central Arkansas in October. And they're like, and we're on the lookout for 3 more games. If you want to play a game, we're here.
UCF, take them on. Just show me how good you are, UCF. Go play a champion. A real champion, not a fake champ.
Come on now.
Not a paper mache champ, a real champ.
So it might be the
drafted higher. Oh yeah, theirs.
It might be the only game they play before January, but they've scheduled a game against some Arkansas directional school in October. So the Ohio State and Penn State and Nebraska fan base is so honked off they couldn't get their teams to buck, a commissioner or whatever and schedule a game. I mean, because let's be honest, Ohio State could have done whatever they wanted. They could have turned around at Kevin Warren and said, "What are you going to do?"
Right. But remember, they didn't even think about it because 30 people showed up for this protest. 30. 35 media members, 30 protesters. That is 2020.
So that's my nomination for what our poll question should be. All right. I mean, the appropriate level of snark.
It is so awful, and I love it so much.
Appropriate level of snark and the 2020 college football season, which we still don't know if it's going to happen. We're just hopeful in the Big 12, ACC, and the SEC. that it's going to happen, along with the AAC. And I believe Conference USA is still playing, right?
Yes.
I think 5 of the 10 are taking the season off, and I think 5 of the 10 are playing. I think the Sun Belt's out.
Right now, is the Sun Belt out? I know Mountain West, MAC, Pac-12, Big Ten.
Yeah, so Sun Belt's still in? See,
as far as I know.
Okay. Well, that would be 6 of the 10 in then. But yes, the college football polls in the last 48 hours, they've each been released. Coaches poll, AP poll. Clemson, number 1 in both. Ohio State, number 2 in both. Alabama, number 3 in both. Listen.
Sun Belt's playing football, David.
Okay.
And if playing football.
Listen, if you're sick of the SEC before, think about what the polls are going to be now. Because if you take Ohio State and you take Penn State and you take Oregon out of the top 10, okay, and not only that, you're going to move with Wisconsin. You know, you could then move Texas A&M and Auburn up, and I mean, you're going to have 6. You're going to have 6 of the top 9, 6 of the top 10 teams be SEC teams in the first poll that comes out in September. I mean, whoo-wee. Once again, making their case that the SEC right now is like, well, we got 2 of the 4. You know,
already.
That's their argument. Well, we got 2.
We're starting the season with the SEC saying we have 2 until proven otherwise.
Right. I mean, the SEC's attitude is we've got 2, and it's up to the Big 12 to prove that we don't deserve 3. Oklahoma, okay, you need to have a really good year. You need to prove that we don't deserve 3. That's their attitude. And the ACC's argument is, well, we've got 1, and with Notre Dame, tell you what, Oklahoma, you need to prove you're better than Notre Dame, or else we get 2.
And Mac Brown, if I beat Notre Dame and put 1 up, you sure we're not there either?
You heard it from Bud Elliott yesterday that of the teams in terms of schedules, and he said, look at North Carolina's schedule. He goes, that schedule is doable.
You're darn right it is.
And if they get Notre Dame at home, look out. All right, they could be the ones facing Clemson in the ACC title game. So, be good for college football. All right, to have Mac be able to recreate quickly at North Carolina what he created there in the late 90s. People forget the reason Mac Brown got the Texas job was because what he did at North Carolina.
Yeah, it would be great for college football if Clemson and Notre Dame played.
Well, it would.
Twice.
Yes, it would.
North Carolina is not needed until March.
It's a big year for Notre Dame, though. All right. They can fortify their reputation, but they can also take a hit, Mark. I mean, if they're playing nothing but ACC games and they go 7-3, they lose to Clemson, people will be like, well, heck, it might be the best team in the country. Hell, Alabama's lost to Clemson twice, but then, who else?
Trip up against somebody, not even North Carolina, trip up against the Knowles or.
Right. Who else? Right. Who else can they lose to in which people don't go, damn? So that's why, to me, it's a win-win-win-win-win, I think, for the ACC.
That's a lot of wins. It's more than they get most years.
Miller and Moulton. There's a few things going on in the association. All right. We'll need to address it for a few minutes. All right. For those of you not into the association, it'll be short. It'll be sweet. That's all I could tell you. If I pack Kirwan next hour, we're talking football. Today was the day one coming up. We got a lot going on. All right. We'll put this poll question out there. We'll figure out the exact snarkiness from a wording standpoint. All right. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Start looking at your 3. Kyle Lowry's taking a lot of heat because he doesn't deliver in the clutch. It's like, oh no, Kyle's a really good player. So with the Lakers, it's Kyle Kuzma. He's having his worst year, 12.5 a game, 30% from three-point land. So when you start looking at the Lakers, there's just no wiggle room. So I just don't think this Laker team's a championship team.
Colin Cowherd, weekdays at noon on
I
Fox Sports.
don't think you want students allowed back. I don't think you'll be able to have football or sports, for that matter, if the students are on campus. I don't. I think there will be too much COVID for the presidents on these campuses to handle. They can handle it if it's just amongst the athletes and they can sequester them and all that, because they figure that eventually they'll tap it out. But I don't think the university presidents will handle amazing the selection that you'll find at flare-ups of COVID if they have a full campus of students.
Yes, and we.
I just don't. I think there's not much COVID that I think they'll have a tolerance for, because they will fear that it could lead an outbreak. Okay, and as Seth points out, so campus is deemed unsafe, and it's not. I don't know if unsafe's the word. Okay, Seth, the one thing that you're not pointing out, though, is that it's not that the athletes have to stay. In the overwhelming number of the cases, it's that the athletes want to stay. I mean, they do. You don't want them to stay, but they want to stay. Now, whether they should or not, whether it should be left up to them. But, well, Seth, whether it's they want to keep their scholarships, they want to keep their starting positions. But, the other thing is, Seth, I mean, let's be honest. These big-time athletes are there to play sports. They are not there in most cases to go to school. They're not. I mean, this is their minor leagues. It just is.
Let's face
it. It just is.
New routine, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's
fair or not.
Center for Men's Health. During these stressful times, your mood is so critical.
Yes, Seth. Exactly. And believe me, Mark and I want to pay them. Trust. You're talking to the wrong guys here. We want to pay them. We think they deserve more.
Grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much their mood improves once they get treated.
But Seth,
can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com.
Seth, how many of us, in our industry have done stuff for free?
Good mood too.
Have done stuff, quite frankly, that's illegal. And we've agreed to working conditions that are not legal. But in our industry, you got to do what you got to do, and anything to get on air, etc. And so we say yes to it.
How long we got, Jero?
1 minute.
And we are too. We know you rely on the good people.
What is your obsession, Seth, with it? The ACC has to stop. I don't get this.
Because Syracuse is in it.
Is this just a Syracuse thing?
Yeah, and my feeling is, listen, I mean, I think the Big Ten could have moved forward without Rutgers and Maryland this year. The ACC could move forward without BC and Syracuse this
Dante,
year.
right?
Yeah.
Safety in the forefront. The Good Feet store is lending a hand to help America get back on its feet. And just as we have for a quarter century, we're helping to improve.
And I want to ask him about around the NBA. I don't just want to focus on
Dante. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Doing very well. Yourself?
Doing good, thanks. Doing good. Everything going okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for the time going on here right now.
You got it. No problem. No problem. Talk to you guys in a second.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Your life.
29 minutes past the hour. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Today was the day when, coming up in about 15 minutes, Pat Kirwan next hour to talk all things NFL. We are just 16 days away, ladies and gentlemen, from the Chiefs and the Texans. The days are dwindling in the bubble for the Orlando Magic, down 3-1 to the Milwaukee Bucks. Dante Marchitelli, who covers the Orlando Magic, along with all things NBA for Fox Sports Florida and the Magic Radio Network, is joining us once again. You can follow Dante on Twitter at Dante Magic. Dante, how has broadcasting these games so close yet so far away been?
Oh, it's been strange. First of all, we've had free reign of the Amway Center, which has been strange. So we've we've been playing games inside there, and just kind of get the lay of the land like we would normally get to do on a game night. But boy, I tell you, we miss having fans in that building. We can't wait to get them in there. But give David Steele and Jeff Turner a lot of credit, because I know we talked about that last time, and for those guys to be sitting calling a game off a monitor, and the games are being played maybe 10 miles down the road at Disney has just been so strange. But like everything else in 2020, it's kind of been strange and not ideal, but you make the most of it. And it's been great to have basketball back, and it's been great to see the Magic competing like they have, and it's just been great to be a part of these broadcasts.
2-on-2, 3-on-3, you running full court, or is this just horse?
Yeah, we did horse. We did wiffle ball, believe it or not.
Nice.
We did wiffle ball. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, they didn't have the court down, so we said, well, we got to kill some time. So we did wiffle ball, a little football, a little frisbee. We tried to do everything we could on that Amway Center floor. It was great.
Bring those rollerblades in. Bring back roller hockey.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, a little roller derby maybe before game time. I like your style.
Dante, I don't know if we're old enough to remember. Don't know if you are, but you remember the old Bird McDonald's commercial where he's hitting all shots all from the empty arena?
Yeah,
okay, don't know.
Right? Bounce it off the scoreboard, off the Well, now I grew up in Boston, so I was a huge Larry Bird fan. So anything, I'm pretty familiar with anything that guy's done.
He's Dante Marchitelli, Fox Sports Florida, the Orlando Magic Radio Network. Follow Dante on Twitter at Dante Magic. Listen, does the season end tomorrow? By the way, we'll have it for you. Our coverage begins at 3:30 here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. It seems as if they caught Milwaukee off guard, but then, there's a reason that the one team's the 1 and the other team's the 8.
Well, it seems like we made them mad in that first game. We got their attention. We were able to take that first game. I don't know. Milwaukee had not been right since the hiatus. They were 3-5 in the seeding games, and I don't know. They handled Orlando so easily during the regular season, winning by an average of 17 points a game. I don't know that they thought the Magic had that in them. And so now they've handled them 3 straight games, and I don't think they're expecting the Magic to be able to beat them in Game 5. And the Magic have nothing to lose now, playing loose and playing free. And the other 3 opponents in the Eastern Conference have already gone home. They've already been swept, and the Magic are playing the team with the best record in the NBA and still going, trying to force a Game 6. Which to me, guys, I think you've already accomplished more than anybody thought you would, because you've gone in against a team with the best record, best odds to win the NBA championship, and you don't have 4 of your top 8 rotation guys, and somehow you're able to steal that game. And yesterday you were in the game, until about midway through the fourth quarter when Milwaukee just opened the floodgates. So obviously Milwaukee's, they're the better team. They've got the best record in the NBA, and who knows what the rest of their season looks like. But I expect the Magic team to play loose and free. We got nothing to lose. We put all this time into it. It's been so long since we've been into the playoffs for back-to-back years. Let's just go out there. It's not going to be a situation where they can't wait to get home. These guys want to go in there and extend this series. And if they can get hot, knock down some threes, and Milwaukee gets a little tight, then they possibly could force a Game 6 on Friday. All right.
You said they got mad, but what is it that you think about Milwaukee that makes them special? What have you noticed in this series? It looks like they're going to have to go up if they win, and we think they're going to. I think we all do. They're going to go up against Miami, who's played pretty good, and they match up. And then maybe Toronto or Boston, obviously, in that other series. But what is it about the Bucks that you like the most, and where are they vulnerable, if at all?
I think you're right. No, it's a good question. I think where they're vulnerable is how they defend the three. They, at a historic rate, they're allowing 3-point attempts per game, right? So teams can shoot 41 threes a game. That's never happened in the NBA, and teams are making 15 of them. So they'll let you shoot the 3, and today's game is predicated on the 3 ball. So if they let you take threes and you knock them down, could it be a Boston? Could it be a Miami? Could it be a team with all these shooters? Duncan Robinson, best 3-point shooter in the game. Could those teams get hot from beyond the arc and beat them. You cannot score in the paint on this team. This Magic team is predicated on getting the ball in the paint. Markelle Fultz makes a living in the paint. DJ makes a living in the paint. They protect the rim. You cannot score on this team in the paint. I think it was 20 paint points. The Magic average about 35, 40 a year, and they're getting 20, 25. You just, unless you get stops and get out in transition. So they're just so sound defensively. And then, whereas the Magic just don't have the firepower, and especially with all the injuries, they just don't have the luxury of bringing 5 guys off the bench that can all make a three. And Milwaukee has that. They just go, they're so deep. It doesn't matter who you go to. And then you got to contend with Giannis. You got to show him this wall. So that takes 2 or 3 guys to try to have any chance to slow him down. And that leaves their shooters wide open. And then they're bringing out Kyle Korver, who's made the 3rd most threes in NBA history, trotting him off the bench. And Pat Connaughton, who solely is out there to shoot threes. Marvin Williams makes 3 yesterday, and Wes Matthews makes 4. And those 2 guys knocking down that many threes is just a backbreaker. So they've just got so much firepower, and they're the best defensive team in the NBA. Other than that, there's a lot of chinks in that armor. Other than that, those 2 areas.
Dante Marchitelli, who covers the Magic and the NBA and sports at large for Fox Sports Florida. Follow him on Twitter at Dante Magic. The Sixers here. And getting rid of Brett Brown so quickly. Orlando's been in this situation before when it's like, okay, we know we have to get rid of the coach, but then what do we do? Dante, let me ask you this. I was thinking about this before we had you on. I don't believe there's been a team to win the championship in the NBA in which their best player was a center. And I know Duncan was sometimes listed as a power forward, but the 07 Spurs, I think, are the last team to win a title in which their best player was a big. All right. Otherwise, this has been a wing guard driven league. All right. Because even LeBron, okay, always plays with the ball in his hand. Okay. Can you win a championship nowadays? Okay. When your best player is an Embiid? Or do you have to instead try to find your best player be a guy, who has the ball in his hand, like Luka? If you know what I mean. Can you win a championship where your best player is a center?
That's a great question. You got to go back to the days of Olajuwon and Ewing and those teams. Olajuwon might be even before that the last great center to lead the team to win the championship. But
now I would say, Dante, if I could interrupt, I would say Shaq, early 2000s with the Lakers. He was still better than Kobe. Okay, but yes, I mean, otherwise Duncan with the Spurs through the 2000s. But by the time they beat the Heat 6-7 years ago, he wasn't the best player on their team anymore.
Right. It's funny how this thing shifts, isn't it? You had to have the dominant big man when the league first started, and then it got somewhere we shifted, and it was Larry Bird. You had to be your power forward, a guy that could post up, and a guy that could pass and shoot threes, and then it was a point guard that had to lead the team in scoring, and a wing. You're right. It's made so many transitions, but I think with Embiid, yes, I think you can win with Joel Embiid as your best player. Absolutely, 100%. But I think you have to have shooting around him, and if you look at the numbers, it's very difficult. Ironically, with him and Ben Simmons on the floor together, they do not complement each other well because neither one of them spaces the floor for the other. So you have to surround those two with shooters, and they haven't had enough shooting on that team yet. I think the loss of Jimmy Butler just crippled them. I think he was a guy that could have kept that whole thing together. But I think if how much did they miss Ben Simmons in that series as well? Whether he can shoot or not, he's another guy that can get you a basket. I think Embiid's got to be a more consistent three-point shooter. Ironically, your big has got to be a great three-point shooter nowadays. But I think they can absolutely win with Embiid. But I think he's got some decisions to make, right, guys? I mean, he's got to decide how much he wants to play this game, how much he wants to dominate. He's got to get his body right. He's got to, kind of all the other antics that we're always talking about on our shows, and how much is he into that part of it? He's just got to. How much does he love the game? How much is he putting into it? He's a top 3 talent in the NBA, but is he committed enough to winning? And I think that's what we'll find out. It's unfortunate. Brett Brown took them through their darkest hour as a franchise and got them back. In that's a team that, struggled and lost historic amount of games in a 3 or 4 year span. Yet he brought them out of that and got them to this point. Just hasn't been able to get everybody healthy. You can't count on Embiid and Simmons to be there so much. But I do think if you surround Embiid with the proper players, yes, they can win with Embiid as their best player.
Who are you more surprised by right now, the Mavs or the Thunder? And I know we expect more out of the Clippers, but the Mavs have this player here that we've been enjoying watching a little bit, and the Thunder were supposed to be on a rebuild. So I do think it's a fair question. Which one are you more surprised by, and which one do you think has a better shot at winning 2 more?
Well, you know what? I don't know what it is. Maybe because the Magic played them so well. I look at that Houston Rockets team, and I never know how Houston wins as many games as they do. To be quite honest with you, just putting up 50 to 60 threes a game. Yes, Harden is an incredible talent, but if he gets his 35, 40, where are they getting all their other points from? You look at the rest of that roster. So I think it's remarkable what that team has done, and they're an incredible team offensively, but they don't defend well. They don't really even try on the defensive end. So I just can see teams sticking around with them, and like OKC has done, which I think is a fantastic story. What a revenge series that would be for Chris Paul if he's able to knock out the team that traded him away. But getting to see Kawhi Leonard firsthand last year in the postseason, and seeing how impossible it was for the Orlando Magic to try and slow that guy down just because how good he is in the mission that he was on last year. Every time that guy loses a game, I am shocked because I saw it up close. That guy just doesn't lose. He takes over games, the shots he makes, the plays he makes, that he defends and gets the ball whenever he wants. So to me, that is the bigger surprise. And for Luka on a rolled ankle without Porzingis, who's battling a knee injury, to go out there and have the game that he had, and then to step back and hit a shot like that against that team is just absolutely fun. So I am blown away by everything that Dallas is doing, just because I think the Clippers are a team. The Clippers are the team that I thought would win the NBA championship. And to see them struggling in the first round with Dallas is shocking to me.
Well, Paul George can't play any worse than he's playing right now. I think that's a big reason why that series is 2-2. If Paul George can actually show up, I think they'll be the team, Dante, that you and many others think that they will be. Hey, thanks for agreeing to do this. All right, we hope your season doesn't end tomorrow. We'll be listening though, and hopefully we can talk again.
I appreciate it, guys. Always good to talk to you. And now I'm going to go out and get in line and get my rollerblades, and we're gonna go tear it up one more time.
Fantastic! Just get that whip going when you get worked around the court.
I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna look into that. That's good. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate
Dante.
it. Talk to you soon. Hopefully we push this thing at least to Friday.
Dante Marchitelli, you'll hear him Wednesday beginning at 3:30 on the Magic Radio Network, and you can also see him on Fox Sports Florida. Follow him on Twitter at Dante Magic. So a little NBA for you there as the first round is nearing an end. We have 2 series that are 2-2, and we've had a bunch of sweeps, and we got a couple that are 3-1. The big surprise is Utah is the 6, is up 3-1 on Denver. I believe the NBA reseeds, so unless Dallas posts the big upset, if Utah wins, I believe they get the Lakers in the next round. And I think outside of Charles Barkley, most of us think the Lakers are going to advance. If Milwaukee takes care of Orlando, they will face the Heat next in the second round. And Miami plays them really well. I think they split 4 games during the season, and they match up very well. 17 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when, coming up, Pat Kirwan to talk all things NFL next hour here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Drive home with the Doug Gottlieb Show.
All right, how are we listing this? If the I got to put this poll question up. I really had to use the bathroom last break. That was far more important than a poll question.
I understand.
Based on the preseason AP poll, Ohio State is ranked number 2 and not playing.
I don't think we have to type all that out, do we?
Okay, just Ohio State is ranked 2. Well, I mean, you got to have a little bit. I don't know if people are aware that. I mean, you're assuming that everybody knows there's an AP poll and that the Big Ten's ranked. You can't assume that everybody knows what we know going into a poll question, because they could just be reading it first thing in the morning.
I got you.
So that and UCF.
Ohio State is ranked second and not playing. UCF is ranked 21st and playing.
There you
Okay.
go.
Which team is more likely to make the playoff?
And UCF is ranked, what did we say?
21st.
Ranked number 21.
Right. And playing. I do think it's just, we're being as snarky as we can. They're ranked second and not playing.
If UCF goes, I don't even know how many undefeated. I have no idea how many games they play.
Yeah, if UCF goes undefeated, which team is more likely to make the playoff? UCF or Ohio State? That's funny. Okay. That's funny. Right. As Miller and Moulton fan says, Kevin Durant. Right.
Exactly.
Yes. Sorry, I was right then. I was.
Are you ready to take your game and athletic training to the next level to improve your speed, posture, endurance, conditioning, and mental training?
I almost want to forward this to Ohio State people just so the poll gets up.
Yeah. I put
Like,
Ohio, make sure you put at and what have you, let them see it. Oh yeah, first off, I think they'll get a kick out of it. Okay. They'll laugh and they'll go, they could put us in. Maybe that's how we get in the playoff. We could just get in by default. They go, you know what? Who should be the fourth team? Ohio State.
Through a unique program of high-intensity, low-impact, results-driven hydroathletic.
We can keep going back to this every month too. We can, and replace that. Who's more likely to make the playoff? 9-1 Oklahoma, 0-0 Ohio State. I mean, honestly, we could just keep every month. We can keep going back to this.
On Instagram or visit ASU.
All right, there's a lot of hashtags in this thing. Ohio State, UCF, Big Ten, AAC, and the college football playoff. I am so proud of this question. It's the best poll question we've ever had. My God, is this just delicious?
So
everything about this thing is just fantastic.
Okay,
Wait, do you like the graphic there? Like that, David? How I had it?
Yeah, sideline reporter for the
name there.
Magic.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
okay, I won't.
Yeah, absolutely. I just like the fact you got all the vowels in the right order. I mean, there's a lot of.
I did it before the show today.
A lot of Wheel of Fortune there. So
no, trust me.
We'll do the poll question.
Yeah,
we'll do the poll question first, and then today was the day.
Yeah, and you'll leave me 4 seconds for the rest of it.
No, I won't. First off,
that was fun.
It was
a little fun.
It was.
Settle down over there.
I broke early.
Casio this morning.
Not at all. I broke early so that I wouldn't leave you 4 seconds. For today was the day one.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Is your pool a pain to operate? Automation is the answer. Use your phone to turn on your spa, and it'll be warm when you get home. Free on.
It's a funny poll question.
It's a great poll question. A former business partner says he had long affair involving Jerry Falwell Jr. and his wife.
Well, are we sure that the guy fooled around with Falwell? Here's what we know.
I'm just reading what's happening on Twitter.
Right. Pool Boy apparently had an ongoing thing with the wife while Falwell watched.
So Baptist of him. So I did my.
You see Arch there? All-Star Lanes in North Fort Myers as a
No,
sponsor?
I don't even have that up right now.
Gotcha.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
11 minutes before the hour. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Pat Kirwan to talk all things NFL. He will join us next hour. Normally we do this an hour ago already, but we had an idea as to what we wanted to do. We couldn't quite word it properly. We think we've nailed it.
Yes. In fact, I feel pretty confident that we've nailed it.
It took an hour, though. We're late. But hopefully once you hear it, you'll forgive us. It's today's poll question.
The AP released their preseason poll. The Buckeyes are ranked number 2. Ohio State from the Big Ten Conference, one of 7 Big Ten teams in the AP top 25.
Not playing.
and UCF's ranked 21. So the question is this: based on this year's preseason poll, the Buckeyes are ranked number 2 and are not playing. UCF is ranked 21 and playing. If UCF goes undefeated, which team is more likely to make it to the college football playoff? Ohio State or UCF?
Now, we don't want.
Already hates me, and they are so mad at me right now. But will you, for just a second, have a sense of humor about this?
Exactly. That's what we're asking of you. Because remember, for the record, Miller and Moulton are Miller on the record saying you run the table this year, you should be in. No questions asked. Nothing. Boom. Done. However, yes, you're like an independent candidate. Yeah, the parties are lined up against you. Yes, you know that.
And I look at this as why the AP put all these teams in. There's part of me that goes, they did it just to stick it to the AAC at the end of the year because they're ranked too low to start.
And the coaches poll did it too. They released their first poll, and they had Big Ten and Pac-12 teams all throughout it. So that's our poll question. Read it again. It's funny.
Based on the preseason AP poll, Ohio State is ranked number 2 and not playing, and UCF is ranked 21st and playing. If UCF goes undefeated, which team is more likely to make the college football playoff? Right now, Ohio State was 71% of the vote. Time now for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the
They're going to win this going away.
Speaking of useless knowledge around the office.
I love our poll question.
This is Today Was the Day When. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Start today in 1924 when Walter Johnson's second no-hitter beats the St. Louis Browns 2-0 in 7. David, that's another 7-inning no-hitter. I'm just letting you know I'm seeing a lot more of this.
Doesn't count.
Apparently it does.
It shouldn't count.
If
Put
it
an
started in
asterisk.
1924, it counts in 2020. Just
you say so.
Baseball says so. 1946, Ben Hogan beats Ed Oliver 6-4 at the PGA for his first of 9 majors. Who knew Ed Oliver could play golf? I thought he was just a good edge rusher.
I was going to say.
And in 52, Detroit Tiger Virgil Trucks has his second no-hitter of the year, beating the Yankees 1-0. I've never heard of him. I just wanted to say Virgil Trucks on the air today.
Who doesn't?
Today in 1958, because the next name, this is the hardest name I've ever had to say in the air. Momofuku Ando. And if you look at how it's spelled, it really scared me. But in 58 markets the first package of pre-cooked instant noodles. That's right, chicken ramen. Without this invention, how would most of us gotten through college?
Whew.
I mean, couldn't you get like 10 for a buck with those ramen noodles? Those things were fantastic. 85, Doc Gooden becomes the youngest pitcher to win 20 games. He did it at 20 years, 9 months, and 9 days.
Went 24-4 with a 1.53 ERA at 20.
1986, Mark McGwire today would hit his first major league home run. 1991, Carl Lewis breaks the 10-second mark in the 100 meters, running a 9.86. 96 was the 96 U.S. Amateur, and it was won by one Tiger Woods.
That was his last amateur tournament. He turned pro the next week,
right?
Yeah,
5 or was that
no.
2 years? That was 2 years ago. That was the year before that.
Well, he won 94, 95, 96.
95 was, I think, the big comeback when he was down 5 after 18 and then would end up coming back and winning. 1998, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was released. It would win 5 Grammys, including Album of the Year. And I just liked this story, and I never had heard it before, but it was a year ago, Dave, that Double Dave, not you, Double Dave, a rare 2-headed timber rattlesnake, was found in the Pine Barrens Forest in New Jersey.
Not to be confused with Skinny D?
No.
Double Dave?
Double Dave.
Gotcha.
Not Diamond Dave either.
No.
If you want to listen to a little Van Halen later today. If you were born today, you share your birthday with Sean Connery, born today in 1930.
He's 90?
Yeah, and he's still better looking than both of us combined.
He's got it.
Would have been 89 today, David, since you went all Regis on me earlier. case you missed it, since Regis passing, David has ended all pre-show communication with me.
Yes, none. I'm Regis. He's Kathy Lee and Kelly. Yep, don't talk to him.
God, I'd like to be as skinny as Kelly. 1946, Raleigh Fingers was born. Loved Raleigh Fingers. Gene Simmons. Don't take a guess at how old Gene Simmons is.
73.
71, but not a bad guess. Elvis Costello is 66. Wouldn't you think that Gene's about 20 years older than Elvis Costello?
He just looks it.
Billy Ray Cyrus. Don't know what's more popular, his one-hit single or his child, born today in 1961.
His child.
She's a train wreck. Albert Bell is 54 today. Rachel Ray is 52. Claudia Schiffer's 50. Okay, we can talk now. And Marvin Harrison is 48. And today was the day when, on this August the 25th. Brought to you by Norma Jeans, by Page Field in Fort Myers. Today was the day when. Stop by Norma Jeans.
Don't you think Marvin Harrison could still get open on a third down, move the chains a couple times? I mean, I don't think he'd be good on first and second down anymore, but there's a part of me that thinks that Marvin Harrison would still be good for 2 third down conversions a game.
And Jerry Rice for 1?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, with T.O. in the huddle going, I was open.
This is a great T.O. story we got yesterday from Vinny Serrato. Talking about when he drafted T.O. in the 3rd round.
1 minute.
And they're playing a preseason game. And on the way to the game, he says, Seifert says to Vinny, I think we're going to put your guy T.O. on the practice squad. I'm just not seeing it. And he goes out in that preseason game and has like 6 catches and a touchdown. And after the game, he says to Vinny, he goes, well, I guess he's a gamer.
Right.
And it was a question I asked based on preseason and what missing preseason means for all these unrestricted free agents and lower draft picks. And Vinny Serrato said flat out, it means that it's going to be really, really hard for those guys to make a team this year.
Yeah, a lot of preconceived notions will enter into rosters and lineups right now with only 10 padded practices. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan to talk more about that and the NFL as a whole coming up next hour. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening on this Tuesday morning, the last one of August, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison, did you ever kill a guy? Another good lead. All right, I need coffee.
Dan Martineau here, owner of DR Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is DR Martineau.
Message and data rates may apply up to 5 messages a month. TNC and privacy policy found at warbyparker.com/terms.
Need new glasses, but don't feel like leaving your house to shop? No problem. Warby Parker can help you out. Pick 5 pairs of Warby Parker frames, and they'll send them to your house for free. Try them on, take your time, get some opinions, see which ones you like. To get started, just text COMFORT to 64,000. Keep the frames for 5 days and send them back when you're done. It's super easy and it's totally free. If you find a winner, Warby Parker will send you a fresh pair outfitted with your prescription. Their high-quality glasses start at $95, including prescription lenses. That's right, including the prescription lenses. There's no need to travel to an optical store. With Warby Parker, you can shop for glasses anytime, anywhere. Try 5 frames for free today with Warby Parker. Text COMFORT to 64,000 to pick your 5 frames to try on at home for free. Text COMFORT to 64,000 to get started for free. That's COMFORT.
Hey, Marvin Harrison ever kill a guy? Yeah, either that or he knew who did.
Business.
Yep.
Vehicle history searches and test drives. Now you've got your
Mighty Muscle Dave. Nice
You can
hops.
get your retirement.
Nice.
Visiting Ace your retirement.
Yeah, Johnny Mac, I think the PGA sometime in the 50s stopped with match play.
You ace vehicle history searches and test drives. Now you've got your wheels. If you
The
met-
year Hogan won 3 majors, he didn't play the PGA that year because it was match play. And he was only like a year and a half removed from the car accident, and he couldn't do all that walking. He couldn't play all those matches over all those days. So he didn't play the PGA that year. He played the other 3, and he won them. I think it was 51,
The Center for Men's Health.
maybe 53.
.com.
You know, the other thing is that like with the PGA now in May, if you look it up, like Jack won a PGA one time in February. It was played in Florida. I think it was at PGA National, Fort Lauderdale or something like that. But so the PGA has been a whole bunch of things.
Look at you.
Well, he had made the decision, though, Plummer, that he wasn't going to play. I don't think the PGA was the very next week. I think there was a week off, and then it was the PGA. But Hogan had already made the decision that he couldn't handle the match play portion of the PGA. He couldn't do all that walking.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
We have to break early. Pat wants to be on at 8:20. I think he needs to be done at like 8:40-ish because he's got some stuff.
Fine. Made me happier. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
And Moulton.
Look at you.
Yeah, yesterday, 3 of the 4 news channels opened with the tropical storm.
Sports Radio.
Yeah, markets weather.
Right, but the other one, the union thing just got settled. That's kind of a big effing deal.
Mark, nothing's bigger than the weather.
Oh my, I was like, I'm done with. I'll never watch local news again after yesterday. First off, they're all awful. All of them.
They're not all awful.
It's terrible. It's such a joke.
You're live.
As we approach a couple minutes past the top of the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you on this final Tuesday of August? Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream this show at millerandmoulton.com. That's where you can also go if you miss any part of the show. Download our podcasts via millerandmoulton.com. Also, it's where you can go to, well, vote in our poll question, which today we're hoping that you appreciate, which is very dangerous in these times. But you appreciate the appropriate amount of snark, sarcasm, humor in our poll question today. We understand you could get angry, okay, at either side of this question, but it's our hope that the humor wins out over the angst. The college football polls have come out in the last 48 hours. Coaches poll one day, media poll the next. In both polls, Ohio State, forgive me for laughing, Ohio State's number 2. They're not playing. UCF is 21st. They are playing. We ask, if UCF runs the table and goes undefeated, which team is more likely to make the playoff? UCF or Ohio State? Now, come on, that's funny. A little something for the effort there.
It's fantastic.
We're going to get some angry because both, Buckeye fan is, you're reminding me we're not playing, and UCF fans go, yeah, exactly. No. I know what you're saying. Yeah, we could go 10-0, 11-0, and they'd still put a Big Ten team in over us who didn't even play. Well, that's kind of
as it was pointed out on the Williamson Brothers Marine Talk and text line. Ohio State will also be undefeated. I mean, they'll have a donut as well.
That's right. And as we've,
and their 0, we've learned for a long time, their 0 is far more important than your 0.
Their right 0 is more important than your left 11. Okay.
Or 10 or whatever it is that you play.
9, whatever. Right. So that's all. For the record, Miller and Moulton have said now for a few weeks that if an AAC team, UCF, Cincinnati, Memphis, they go undefeated, Put them in the playoff this year. Absolutely, positively, put them in the damn playoff. But come on, come on. Appreciate the snark. Also, it's college football. I mean, let's face facts. We joke all the time about running a franchise like 4 drunks at the end of the bar. I mean, that's kind of sometimes how college football, does things. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the WWE oftentimes has more rhyme and reason than college football at large. So there you go. 239-479-5551. 239-479-5551. As a buddy of mine just texted me, if you go by that old eyeball test, isn't Ohio State more impressive? But need a rim shot sometimes. I've got room now that I've rearranged things in the bedroom. I need to have my own rim shot
over there.
Yep, I need my own rim shot. My daughter's playing the drums, by the way. She sent a video like a month ago. She's got her own drum set. She's teaching herself the drums.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I'm going to get a rim.
I've got a third now. I got a bass player and I play guitar. We already got a trio. This is great.
I'll tell you what, in about a year and a half, when we're allowed to play at a bar, we've got a band. This will be great.
Sing.
Hey.
Skinny D and the boys.
As long as it's Vogue.
And girl.
Okay. As long as
No, I'm not. We won't learn that.
I can karaoke Vogue with the best of them. I can do Vogue better than Madonna. That's how good I am. Everything else, awful. But I am fantastic with Vogue. I take Vogue on the road. And I very low self-esteem, but I feel pretty good. Vogue, karaoke Vogue. That's my wheelhouse right there. Not as good as our poll question today, but just close.
For the record, Ohio State leading in early voting.
See,
they're going to win this going away.
Well, I don't think so. A lot of UCF fans, they're going to get angry. You made sure you got all the hash and all that, so it's going to get out there.
We'll see about that.
I think it's going to be close. Ohio State will win. Oh, yeah, Ohio State will win. But I think it'll be, how many points you giving me?
Oh, I'd give you Ohio State -7.
Oh, boy.
I'll give you 7.5.
Yeah, that's. I have a feeling this will reach double figures. I just don't think it'll be 60-40 big, but I could see it being 57-43 big.
You want 2 touchdowns? No way. I'll give you 10.
All right.
I'll give you 10 for lunch.
10.5. Give me the hook.
Well, I'll give you 10 for lunch delivery, paid for by the other guy, because you're still not allowed in restaurants.
Right. Although
will you be allowed in restaurants when you're traveling for work? I mean, now
it depends on the network.
No. I mean, when you're back in Florida.
Oh.
Will Ruth let you out?
Mark, listen. I don't know if Ruth from Ozark, who is now my wife, by the way, complete with foul language. I mean, I've never
the
ever
daughter dropping bombs that we've never heard out of her.
Yes, and I've never looked at her, with more affection than I look at her right now. I love it when she walks around cursing like a Navy sailor. But Mark, it's going to be something when I start traveling here in 2.5 weeks, because I don't know if there's going to be a sign on the door in which she's not going to allow me to come in the house.
Always connect the room here, David.
Well, I don't know if I'll want to, be around others also just to protect everybody. You know what I need? I need somebody who has a guest house. That's what I need. I need a guest house. Willing to.
This show's on you now.
Well, let's not get
this
crazy.
This show is on you now. We know you're out there.
That's what I need. I need a guest house. All right. No, not a big house with my own wing. I'm talking about, just keep me separate. I mean, I got 41 games. I got 70 something flights. I got, and more than that actually. So because that's what I need. I need a good guest house.
Because as the COVID numbers in Florida have been down, and it's you've been looking at it and going, hey, this is getting better. We hope.
Yep.
Alabama, the University of Alabama has had 500 plus cases since August 19th. As someone points out on Twitter, they've had 531 positive cases since August 19th. That's almost 100 a day, meaning the University of Alabama has seen more new cases per day than the entire country of Norway.
That seems, when you frame it that way,
just saw
it's probably not good.
of the 7 o'clock hour of the CBS News before I turned it off so I can pay more attention to the show, that they, in their 90 seconds there, as we're coming on for our second hour, they showed a big party at Auburn, or a bar in Auburn that was just packed to the gills with no masks.
Right.
They've had it at pretty much every college campus in the country.
You're not going to believe this. All right.
Young
people who run, all right, major universities somehow thought that college kids were going to come on campus and not act like college kids. I don't know where they got that. I don't.
I love these university presidents and chancellors speaking down at these students with such disdain.
Oh, no, wait. To me, it gets better. They're not only talking down to their own student body, they better never talk down to the folks in sports again. You know, all you academics who look down at sports. Okay, sports has been pretty open about why it is that they're doing what they're doing. They're doing it for the money. The kids want to play, all right, and the athletic departments will go bankrupt if they don't play. Sports has been pretty open about it, all right? You have not been open about why it is that you wanted to bring the kids on campus. You wanted to bring the kids on campus for the money, all right? And now you're going to pull the bait and switch. You're going to get them in. They're on for campus for an hour and a half. You get their money, their housing. Thank you very much. Now you either have to stay in your dorm room and take classes online or you need to go home. At least sports has been honest about it. All right? You guys have not been honest about it. Be honest about it. Because sports is not going to get sued, by the way, because at least they've been honest about it. You guys, you're going to get sued. People are going to want their money back. You know why? Because you lied to them. You did. And reporters are doing this whole freedom of information thing, and some of you are stupid enough to put it in emails. So I'm telling you, you're going to get sued. But anyway, just a little sidebar, off the rails there for a couple of minutes.
Yes. And one of the off the rails thing that just came out too, Usain Bolt has been tested positive for corona because he had a wild birthday party. And guess what happened?
Right. Now, the one thing that should be pointed out, though, is that there may be cases on campus. The good thing is that very few of young people get really sick. Okay. However, since we do a sports show and we try to keep it in that lane, and we have talked about this for a long time, the appetite of the university president, how much COVID can they handle? Not the athletic department. The athletic department feels, hey, we get a spike, we separate, a week or two, it'll go away. We bring them back into circulation, we'll be fine. We got enough players, we can do this, etc. As sports, because Mark, let's be honest, if you're in sports, you're used to adversity, injuries, or the like. You're used to adversity. You roll with it. More adversity. What do we have to do to keep going? All right. Now, in the academia world, all right, this is adversity. Well, I mean, usually adversity has to do with a budget. And so now and we've said this for months, all right, the difference between, we didn't think the presidents would differentiate between serious illness, okay, and number of cases. We didn't. That to them, there'd be a number. And once the number got above a certain level, they would freak out. They would be like, we can't handle this. And so the reason we bring this up is because we feel, whether it's in a Big 12 school, an SEC school, or an ACC school, that if the numbers in and around campus get to a certain point, there may be a university president or two that does what the Big 10 and the Pac-12 decided in advance. Just go, yeah, we can't do this. Okay, that is why to us, the number of cases at a North Carolina school or in Alabama or this or that, we think the athletic department will look at it and act differently than we think the academic part of the school will.
For almost every school not named Alabama, because I believe it was the Alabama chancellor president who flat out said, you want a football season, quit doing this stuff. When the university president tells his student body that if you don't wear your damn mask and stay away from everybody, we're not going to have football, he's made a claim that gets him sued, David, if you want to know what I mean. He has just flat out said, my football team is far more important than any of you. And it is. We know that's true, but it's very difficult for the university president to use those words publicly.
What he wants to do is say, here's Google Maps in 2006 of what this campus looked like before Nick Saban arrived. Here's Google Maps of what this campus in the city of Tuscaloosa looks like now. Any questions? That's basically what he's saying. Miller and Moulton. So the poll question's out, millerandmoulton.com. The polls are out in college football. Ohio State's not playing their number 2. UCF's playing in their number 21. If UCF goes undefeated, which team is more likely to play in the playoff? UCF or Ohio State? Come on, folks. We could,
Early voting, a little soft. I thought we'd have a lot more response to this. Little soft voting. Maybe all the college kids are in class already taking things online, but Ohio State with a little more than 6 in 10 of the votes.
Oh boy, I've got UCF in 10.5, folks. Come on. I need a rally. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan to talk all things NFL. You do know the Chiefs and Texans are playing in 16 days, right? 16 days. 2 weeks from Thursday. We've got football. Prime time. Football. Chiefs and Texans. Pat Kirwan to talk about it next. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
You can't watch baseball while driving. Mowing, running, walking, fishing, golfing, or while doing anything else you like to do while on the go. And this year, you can't even watch baseball in a ballpark, but you can see the game on the radio. Where stance so still at the plate when the Marlins play. Now the pitch.
God, that's a really, that's going to get the good, bad, and ugly today. That's worthy of a sponsor.
Sports Radio, home for Miami Marlins baseball.
No matter where you're voting, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945.
Yeah, you're probably right, Trenton. But
visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you'll never
The Florida A&M University Medical Marijuana Education and Research Initiative, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
we're just trying to have a little fun with that poll question. Come on.
Florida?
Pointing out
It's illegal here, man.
pointing out the obvious, the ridiculousness of so much, actually.
About qualifying conditions and to find out if medical.
How can you put teams that are not playing in your poll?
For a frameless shower door?
I mean, you might as well put the 2001 Miami Hurricanes number 1 and the 71 Nebraska Cornhuskers number 2. I mean,
No one has more experience and 5-star reviews than My Shower Door. We've been named number 1 by
Why
readers
is
of
she
the News Press
texting me?
and Naples News for 17 consecutive years and have just been named as Lee County's Manufacturer of the Year. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
we've been talking rankings, Trenton.
The name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
A big part of enjoying a good bike ride are all the sights you see along the way. So when David and I both developed cataract,
Oh, Johnny Mac.
turns out some of the best cataract.
I'm doing pretty well food-wise, and I gained about 5-6 pounds, and I've already lost it. I'm back down to what I was when I left the hospital.
And we're so
I'm good until somebody mentions food. Like my wife the other day says, "Hey, are you okay not eating pizza?" I looked at her and went, "Why'd you have to bring that up?"
Right up until this very moment.
The coronavirus
I'm fine until you talk about, have
Would you
pepper.
eat a pizza with a cauliflower crust or one of those things? Just so
Hell
you can
no,
do it?
no.
Why not?
Because it's crap.
How do you have you had one before?
Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing very well, my friend.
Where's
In the middle of the-
your Zoom tour? Where's your Zoom tour taken? I've not listened in a few days.
Oh, that's a good idea for you. Where have we been? It's kind of worked out way better than I thought. We were at the Raiders first.
Yep.
They were very good. Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Chicago Bears.
Good.
Redskins. Seattle. Today we're Buffalo Bills. Tomorrow the 49ers. And then the Ravens after that.
Oh, did
So
you go on
we're
early
moving along.
yesterday? Because I thought I saw a tweet that Seattle was at 2. That's the only reason.
Yeah, we did 2 to. Well, we were on their schedule, so 2 to 5 yesterday.
Gotcha.
Some of these teams, especially the West Coast, we're not on normal showtime.
Well, it's always been that way when you do camps, though. You guys have always kind of jockeyed around a little bit depending on where you are.
It is what it is, but we're moving along, and the club. I'll tell you 2 things that are clear to me now. Number one, the PR departments like operating this way because they can control the players in and out, and they're not worried about us from lunch. They know we're not watching practice, but the players and the coaches have been on Zoom all spring, and they're very comfortable. Yet, let's say,
here we go, Pat.
Pete stayed on for 25 minutes.
21 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for listening, Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. He does weekday afternoons on NFL Radio, Moving the Chains with co-host Jim Miller. He is Pat Kirwan. He's also getting ready for the NFL season with the NFL Today on CBS. And Pat has joined us for many a year, and also for many a year, Pat's appearances have been brought to us by Pinchers. From Tampa to Key West with 8 locations in Southwest Florida. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, how are you? How's the virtual tour working?
We're on the virtual camp tour, and it's better than I thought it would be. I was not a big fan of doing it this way, but we had no choice. I was just telling Mark off the air, it's amazing how comfortable the players and coaches are on Zoom after being on it all spring. They will sit there and talk forever, and we've had some long conversations. I was telling you the other day, I think it was 22 minutes with Brady, and yesterday was 25 minutes with Pete Carroll, and Russell Wilson didn't even feel like getting up. So they're comfortable. They're kind of responsive to our questions. And for what it's worth, we're getting more out of it than I thought we would. So carry on. Today we are with the Bills. Tomorrow the 49ers, then the Ravens, and then Houston, depending on that hurricane down there. So so far, so good. Nate, I think we're going to stay out till the 4th of September doing it this way. So we should cover a lot of teams.
All right, Pat, when you talk to all of these teams, what is the biggest adjustment that they've had? And I know there's practice, but what's the biggest, I guess, maybe non-football adjustment? Because they're still going home after practice. How are teams working through trying to quarantine themselves and all of the other things that go along with what's happening out there?
Well, I do feel like the teams with strong leadership like Russell Wilson, those kind of places, or Tom Brady, I wouldn't say they're reading the riot act to the young guys, but they definitely are harping on all the issues, social distancing and masks and everything else all the time. And the players have basically convinced each other it ain't about us. It's about our families. It's about our parents. It's about people that will be in touch with us as the season goes on. So they kind of have put that kind of responsibility on each other. So far, so good. I mean, the other part of your question, the answer is false positives, because at the end of the day, I don't know if it's a false positive when you fail the test. So now I got to go into the protocol. You have to miss practice. The team, Cleveland, cancels practice. When you have as limited a number of practices as these teams do, to have a false alarm and the fire drill of canceling a padded practice, yeah, you think you can make it up. But somewhere down the line, you missed that day and a calendar that never stops cranking off days. So I think there's some frustration on that level, and the NFL, I'm sure, is trying to figure that problem out. But those kind of things. And then you get like, who was I talking to yesterday? I was talking to Ron Rivera. So Ron's dealing with his own issues, and how much time is he going to miss? Plus, they had a 3-day in a row padded situation, and they had a couple of key players unable to go for the 3 days. And that's frustrating because where else are you evaluating these guys anymore but on the limited padded practices? So those are the kind of things they're dealing with. But the smart guys have convinced themselves that let's make an advantage of this. Pete Carroll, as always, he's trying to figure out how can we be the best at doing it this way, and let's come out of this summer thinking we're more ready to play than you are. So that's what's going on there.
Pat, you said that today you're going to do the Bills. I believe this will be the first time since Jim Kelly was still quarterbacking them that they will be expected to win the division. Now, they've had some decent, in the late 90s, Rob Johnson, Flutie, that team won 11 games. And, when Bledsoe went there in the mid-2000s, they had some expectations. But they have not been thought of as the team that should win the AFC East. And I think even in their own house for 25 years. How does Sean deal with, for the first time, he's not the little engine that could. There are expectations. How different are things with Sean McDermott and the Bills now as opposed to the first 3-4 years?
Well, I'm going to talk to Sean at 9:05 this morning, right after you guys, and I'll try to get back to you and tell you what he said. But a couple things I think about Sean's team. Number one, he didn't take the bait when they made the playoffs in the back door. And we all know that. And he knew it, which was the most important thing. He did not say, oh, we're good. Oh, look at this. We're already a playoff team. He tore that thing down right after that short playoff experience and injected Josh Allen into the mix. And he knew that might mean a step backwards, but he was gonna bet on that this is the right way to build it up. Okay. So he was right doing it. Josh Allen's on his way to being a pretty good player. He needs to take another step up. Who doesn't? But he didn't sit on that either. So when you look at his roster, I don't think he's going to get any starters, 2020 starters out of this draft class. Epinesa will play. Zach Moss will be in a rotation. They like Gabe Davis. So far, I can see all that. They had a good draft class last year. They got at least 4 starters out of it. But what he did this offseason, he's going to get, by my count, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 starters out of what we'd call veterans, free agents, unrestricted free agents, street free agents, trades, waiver wire claims, etc. So he's getting Diggs, Brian Winters, Mario Addison, Vernon Butler, A.J. Klein, Josh Norman, if his hamstring holds up. So he's getting all that. So this was a team that we saw was on the rise before any of those guys were on the team. So that's another piece to what he's building. It's a nice blend. They only have 10 starters from the draft, 22 starters from outside the draft. So his young quarterback is on the rise. Last year, he bought an offensive line. We all know that. He kept one guy, the Temple kid at left tackle. Everyone else he brought in from the outside. He's done the same now up on defense. So he feels like he can make his run now, and there's nothing like having Brady leave the division to make you feel like you can do it.
Pat.
He's had a couple guys that missed. Star Lutulele opting out. That doesn't help.
I know you haven't talked to your buddy in Cleveland yet, but a big blow yesterday when Delpit goes down for the year with the Achilles. They were kind of what I was reading. They were changing defense to try to rely a little bit more on their back end than the linebackers. Lose a key part of that. When you see this type of injury to the Browns, how significant in your eyes is it?
No, major. And I think there, I know Kevin Stefanski a long time. Kevin's not going to mince words. He knows what that means to him. So the reality is he's gone, and that a lot of guys are dealing with injuries. And we all thought, this show especially, we all thought there were going to be a rash of injuries early because were they really in football shape when they came? Were they able to keep the soft muscle, the soft tissue issues away? Not really. So when you get these, it stinks. Then you go to the waiver wire and you look around for somebody who's not as good as Delpit, but you got to get another body in there because you're moving the backup up to 1. So who's replacing the backup? So then when you look at it that way, is it time to go get Eric Reed? as an example. Isn't he still sitting out there?
Yep.
And Eric Reed started all 16 games last year. You can say what you want, but when you are in the situation they're in, maybe it's time to get Eric Reed. And there's other guys out there, but that's the kind of guy that I would go after if I were Cleveland.
Well, and also, I mean, let's face it, immaturity is an issue with the Browns until proven otherwise. I mean, Eric Reed's an adult. I mean, forget his social activism part. On the field, in the locker room, Eric Reed's an adult. I mean, and plus, if you're Cleveland, aren't you afraid that Baltimore's going to grab him? I mean, I would think that Eric Reed's agent should have a good day today.
Yeah, opportunity is knocking at his door. And we all know what happened to Earl Thomas and all that business. So I don't know where your tolerance is for the things that Earl's done. Here's what's going to really happen with Earl. No one was studying Earl that closely because he was under a long-term deal with a lot of guaranteed money. But I promise you, yesterday or even Sunday afternoon, pro personnel people were in their door with the door closed, and they were jamming everything of film on Earl into their computer so they could figure out, is he worth going after? How much of Earl is left? How much range is left? How much discipline to the scheme? All you got to do is get a decent scout in there. This is cover 2, and he's off the hash mark all the time. Here's cover 3, and he's got his nose in the backfield. You know, so they're evaluating him, and Reed is the same thing. So it's forget his social opinions, if you will. Is he still a great player? Well, it doesn't matter if he's a great player. We're looking for a good player because we just lost our starter. So you got some options there, and there are other guys. You can go get an old timer like Bethea who can come out and play for a year. Every time everyone says he's done, he plays pretty good for a year. Those kind of guys. Gathers, he started 10 games. So I think they'll jump on the list and go get a guy. And when you look at these teams that feel like now's my time, well, you already brought up Buffalo, David, but Cleveland feels that way. Now's our time. Whether we think so or not doesn't even matter. But if you think now's our time, you will get aggressive in the free agent market to get another body in there.
Pat, David said yesterday that he believes that the Browns have one of the 7 best rosters in the AFC. I think he might be right. Where would you rank their roster in their own division? Are they second or are they third?
Third. We have a very unique thing going on in Baltimore with an offense. Until it's stopped, it's still going. And I think it'll have a little bit of a harder time, but they're terrific and their defense is great. And their kicker, which I try to bring up to the listeners on my show all the time. When you have Justin Tucker, it changes everything. Play calling, range. What do you do in no man's land? Oh, he's pretty good on 50-yard field goals. Just take the field goal. So they have them. Then Pittsburgh, to me, it'll be back in the saddle. They paid all their dues last year. They played all those young receivers who got all that play time. And then you got the young quarterbacks who at least now know how to be backups because they played. That team almost made the playoffs without any Ben Roethlisberger. They got Big Ben back. Jimmy Miller has talked about that surgery and how his arm will be better than it was when he was younger. It tightens up everything. So Jim's extremely confident that Ben's going to play great this year. So Cleveland's third.
Talking with Pat Kirwan. He moving the chains weekday afternoons on NFL radio. Pat also part of the NFL Today on CBS, and Pat's weekly appearances brought to us courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West with 8 locations in Southwest Florida. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. All right, Pat, you mentioned weeks ago that if you were running a team right now, that you would, with the limited practice and no off season, that you would be just grabbing a bunch of veterans. Looks as if Tampa Bay is going to bring in backup center AQ Shipley. Is this what you're talking about? That if you're in a win now mode, instead of stockpiling the young players because you always want to be, feeding the chain and what have you, that when you're a Tampa Bay of the world, is your depth chart this year basically just going to be a bunch of veterans who are willing to take a little less to A, work, and B, play on a winner?
Yeah, we already have limited practices, which we talk about literally every day. And now you're halfway through those practices and you're looking at the kids that you gave a shot to for, I don't know, let's call it 6 padded practices. And they're not ready. And you're thinking, this is a practice squatter we'll pay him a little extra to stay on our practice squad and no one steals him. But he can't play if the starter goes. So we used to have these nightly meetings, and it would be, when I let him, it'd be, okay, let's go through every starter. If he goes down, what do we got? And coaches don't like doing it because, it's superstitious. No, we got to deal with this. And you get to some positions and you realize, let's use center. If our starter goes down, what do we like? Oh, we don't like anything. The line coach will jump right up and go, you know what? The kid's not ready. He can't even identify the Mike backer. Are you kidding me? We'll get Brady killed. That'll scare anybody into getting a veteran. So, yes, go get him. And think about what Everson Griffin took.
Unbelievable. I'm shocked.
Yeah. But you know what? You always take the best offer. So all we can assume is no one even offered that.
That's unbelievable.
Pat, reading a story this morning before the show about Raiders practice, and you've already talked with the Raiders, and that John Gruden's having guys wear old numbers, and Josh Jacobs wearing Bo Jackson's jersey, and Ruggs is wearing a Cliff Branch jersey. And as someone who loves the old Raiders, that just puts a smile on my face. With all that before, who's John Gruden now? How different is this John Gruden than Raider 1.0 in Tampa Bay John Gruden?
I love the question because I think John, who I've known since he was in high school, I think John was set in his ways. He was doing everything the Gruden way. He won a Super Bowl, so he had no motivation to think what I did is passé. But this virus has changed John. John, and I think this is a good thing, John has realized at this point, I can't install all the stuff. We all know how complicated his offense is. This is world famous verbiage. He's been trimming things down in order to accommodate the reality of preparation time. And he is, reaping the benefits really of developing Carr to this point. And he's got, a guy behind him now that is a legitimate player. So John, to me, and I think Mike Mayock is a tremendous influence on John. John, here's John. If you're not a football guy, don't even bother opening your mouth to talk to him. Because if you haven't paid your dues as a football guy, he's not listening. So John has been in some situations where he's kind of running the whole show on his own. And that's not a good thing. Mayock has been tremendous for him in player evaluation, and not just to draft him or sign him. Every night after practice, I don't know, John, I've been watching this guy now for 3 days. Here's my report. He's not doing what we thought he could do. John's listening to that. So I think John's in pretty good shape because of Mayock and because of the virus, ironically.
Pat, you said you've kind of talked to the Bears already. Is it Foles at quarterback number one, and number two, Jim Miller, your partner, is pretty close to that franchise. Are things any different this year? Like you talked about some of the changes that Gruden has made. There are a lot of us that think if Nagy doesn't change, this is going to end poorly and quickly. Does Jim and did you sense any change with the Bears this year?
Matt has done a lot of look in the mirror, self-inspection, and what did I do wrong? And he's taken a good dose of medicine, I believe, from Andy Reid on what he has to do next in his own growth and development. So he's much more open-minded. He had early success. Well, so what happens to every young guy when he has early success? Oh, this is pretty easy. I think the guy at the Rams, Big Sean, is finding out the same thing, right? It's hard, man. And just because you had early success doesn't mean that's going to double down the next year. So he had to step back. Then he thought, this is his last year, he thought that quarterback was ready for the next step. He put a lot of stuff in last summer. I stood there at the opening game on the sideline, and that guy wasn't ready. They were asking him to do too much. So now they got to retreat from that. So he's got a whole different world now. But Trubisky's a better emotionally mature guy now. Is he good enough? I don't know. But I think he's getting first shot. Why would I, and I said this to you guys last week, why would I start Foles? Foles' greatest attributes are off the bench. He's a relief pitcher. When he has not been the relief pitcher, he's just a guy. But when he comes off the bench, he's loose. I talked to Foles for a while. I think Foles gets how this is going to work out. Trubisky will go first. I think this is just me talking to you. And then if he stumbles and falls, we'll see Foles. That's how I think that's going to go. Have they done enough, which is the more important question?
No.
I'm not so sure of that. I think the roster is kind of shaky.
Well, that's where I'd like to get to, Pat, because when you look at that division, which roster got better from last season? Green Bay didn't do a whole hell of a lot. Minnesota lost a bunch of guys. I don't know what Chicago did. I actually think Detroit got better just because Stafford's healthy. I'm trying to figure out which team got better, which roster's better, and how do you rank these rosters right now?
Well, let's look at Chicago. So I think they made an ad, a plus, by putting Robert Quinn on the roster and getting rid of the other kid. I don't want to get mentioning names here. So that one I think is a help. I also think all of a sudden, like quick as a hiccup, Jalen Johnson, the rookie, is going to have to get ready to go here. And you don't want that. You really, these quarterbacks in the league, where's the rookie corner? That guy? Oh, no problem. I'll be thrown over there for the next hour and a half. So, they got some Achilles heels, if you will, vulnerable spots that they got to deal with. So I think the roster, now you did mention Green Bay. They couldn't stop the run last year. David brings that up every time we get to the Packers, and he's right. Have they done anything to make their run defense better?
No.
I don't know. And they let their middle linebacker, Martinez, who kind of ran that defense, go. So I don't know that they got better. Minnesota's overhauled their secondary and said goodbye to all those veterans that were making money, and they were great at sometimes and bad at others. But they're going to put a bunch of kids back there. So is the silent team that's no one's talking about, Detroit, can they actually put something together here? Because we just exposed the vulnerability of the other three teams? Maybe. To me, this is a division that could be a 9-7 winner.
I mean, think about the Vikings. They trade away Diggs, Griffin leaves in free agency, and they got rid of the whole secondary. They won double-digit games last year and won a playoff game, but will they be better? Green Bay doesn't seem better. We just pointed out Chicago, it seems a push at best, and they went 8-8. I don't know if Detroit has it in them, but they could not have asked for the teams above them in the division to have done less than what they have done. Pat, we know you're pressed for time this week. We appreciate you making time for us. Stay safe, be well, and hey, we're 16 days away from the Chiefs and the Texans, so we may start talking twice a week here soon.
Very good. And I bet you Mark talks from now to 9 o'clock about the Lions. I did try to stir him up on the last.
No, Pat, you know what? I'm not a Lions fan. For friends and family members, I would love them to have one good year, but I swore them off a long time ago. I just, in looking at that division, like David said, Minnesota got rid of a bunch of guys. I don't think Green Bay got better, and I'm not sold on Chicago. I like your take that it's a wide open division heading into this year.
It's really wide open if up in Green Bay they try to harness Aaron Rodgers and think running the ball is more important than having Rodgers beat you with his arm. I mean, if they go down that road, they're just setting themselves up for an extra loss or two.
I will say this in Detroit, though. I'm still not sold on the fact that locker room wants to play for that coach. I do think they need to get off to a good start. I think if they do, it could work. But if they don't, then I think they could all know, well, he's going to get replaced. The GM's going to get replaced, and they could all just start CYAing it. That's just,
Yeah, anyone who's been in Detroit for multiple years has already done that 2 or 3 times. So it's just do it again.
Pat, be well.
Thanks, Pat.
See you guys.
Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio, moving the chains weekday afternoons. Listen, it's a big jump. There's always one team that goes from, if not worst to first, from last to the playoffs.
And there's one extra team on each side of the playoffs this year.
Right. But let's face it, it's Detroit. It's kind of like Cleveland. We're not going to give franchises named Detroit and Cleveland because of their track record the benefit of the doubt. Sorry, you got to prove it. We've jumped on your train a few times over the years. You've disappointed us.
Hey, I'm going to take the Patriots to win that division. I'm going to take the Packers to win the North. Until proven otherwise, make the smart pick. Your old adage, if I'm going to lose my $20, I'm going to lose it betting on the Green Bay Packers, not on the Detroit Lions, if you know what I mean.
But Pat's point from a one-loss standpoint, Green Bay went 13-3 last year. They're not going 13-3 this year.
No way.
One, they didn't improve. 2, schedule got harder. The crossover divisions are much harder. Minnesota, even though they tanked their final game of the regular season last year, they won double-digit games in a playoff game. Difficult to argue, certainly at the beginning of the season, that they're a better roster now than they were at the end of last year. And the Bears were an 8-8 team, and that's with a strong finish. And we don't know that they're any better.
They all get the South this year. That means Tampa with Brady, Atlanta, and the Saints.
And the Lions had 6 second-half leads last year. Basically, half of their losses, they had the lead in the second half last year. Do those 6 games turn into wins if Matthew Stafford is their quarterback for the full season? Remember, they started a guy basically off the street on Thanksgiving when I was there to watch them lose to the Bears. I mean, Matthew Stafford's a top 10 quarterback in the league. I'm not going to pick him, and I'm not going to pick him to make the playoffs, but we're just trying to lay out that, you know what, a 3-win team that picked third in the draft,
right?
That the landscape for a 3-win team is a lot better in 2020 than it was in 2019. A lot better. Miller got to get off to a good start, though.
Oh, yeah. Hey, look, I would predict them to go 5-11. It's Detroit. But just if there's ever a time, everything's lined up for them to do it. I think the point you made at the end is so important because do they want to play for Patricia? And it goes back to Pat's old adage, winning or hope. Well, if they start winning, hope comes with that, and they'll buy in.
They got rid of Snacks Harrison, who was a bit of a clubhouse lawyer. Darius Slay wanted a new contract. They got rid of him and revamped the secondary. So Quinn and Patricia have no excuses. This is their roster. This is what they wanted.
Bears, Packers, Cardinals, Saints to open. Got to figure out a way to get 2-2 there, David.
And obviously 4 teams that all had better records than them last year. I mean, the Lions drafted 3rd overall. I mean, you look at their schedule right now, how many games are they going to be favored in? But if you're a Lions fan, you got to beat the Bears. You got to start climbing this division ladder.
That's it. I mean, we've said it all for a long time now. Obviously, with one more team, the numbers get different. But half of the teams that win week 1 make the postseason. 25% that lose week 1 make the postseason. You don't think Chicago and Detroit week 1's a big game? I'll tell you it's very different than that. It is a bit for both of those teams. That's actually a game that they look at. If they lose, they go, oh, crap, we lost to the Bears. Or, oh, crap, we lost to the Lions. That doesn't sit well with you after week 1. You're not playing the Packers or the Vikings.
Miller and Moulton. Pat joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers. The good, the bad, and the ugly, which is brought to you by nobody, is coming up on Miller and Moulton.
Is it?
Oh, look at there.
Or is it?
On Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
I don't know how close the commissioner was to shutting down baseball after what happened to the Marlins. And now with the Cardinals, you're not going to have teams play 60 games. It's going to be based off winning percentage. But understand this. Baseball, from what I'm told, they don't care about the regular season. They're going to go limping, scratching into the postseason.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
That time again to hear from our good friend, Dave Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples. And we love talking to Dave. We know that when he calls, something special is going on. Dave. What? A lot of that very
one of the stories he sent me. It's fantastic.
Gotcha. I'll be back.
Okay.
7 truckloads coming to beat the tariff increase, and we're going to get
Anybody else in the Twitch chat room? Now, I am, we do read the chat nonstop. Anybody else in the Twitch chat room?
So when it comes to Cortex, it's amazing the selection that you'll find.
Cliff Branch said he'd come on the show. Good luck with that.
All ready to be installed.
Yes, and we stock 100 colors of Cortex.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the.
I mean, I hope that you're trying to. It's a bad shot at humor there, D. Connors, but Cliff Branch is dead. So I don't think he'd come on the show. If he would, it would be a hell of a get. I mean, it'd be like getting Jesus Christ on the show. That'd be impressive. All right. Twitch people, serious question for you here. I have a couple of games I play on my phone. Yep, I'm that guy after 9 because I got no life. How much have you increased stupid buys of advertisements on your phone? Because both the wife and I have bought some dumb crap during this pandemic. So much so that you got to make sure you're at the door when it comes so the other one doesn't find out. In fact, both admitted last week because they've been hitting me with diet pills, and I bought some. I told the wife after a couple of drinks the other night. She laughed. She goes, so did I.
Great pay, great benefits, great work environment, and even a sign-on bonus. They're an equal opportunity employer. So if you
I think I've spent less, Trenton, but I have bought more dumb crap online.
hold an EPA card, pass background check, have a valid driver's license with a clean driving record, and pass a drug test. Don't sweat. Call Brett.
It's killing me, too, because every ad I want to buy. I am a gullible person right now for dumb advertisements.
Apply online at brettairconditioning.com.
What do you mean? So do they read chat? And hi, Knee Brace, by the way.
He asked if we read chat. He just said he's new in here. And I said,
yeah, absolutely. Welcome. Thanks for watching, listening.
Guys, if you're suffering from ED,
Well, you going with what bar do you got there? Is that a bagel, a English muffin?
A bar. I have found a new bar.
Yeah?
The Think bars. Apparently they're soy-based, they're high in protein, low in sugar.
well, what you want to do, wow. We at
They're not bad.
have thousands of men just like you,
Sound like it.
thousands more nationally. We can make them
I've had the chocolate brownie and the mint bars.
with medical staff. If we can't show you,
Really thinking about buying the Bionic Flex Pro hose right now. That's the latest ad that's got me. I was
Bionic?
explaining to these guys, the Bionic Flex Pro. I was asking if anybody's gone up and buying stupid crap because I have a couple of games I play on my phone out of boredom, and they, to get more lives or more points, you'll watch a video, and all of a sudden they show this video for the 60th time, and I'm like, I really need this guitar capo, or I really need whatever this crap is. They just hit you over and over, and sooner or later, like I've clicked on some, not necessarily bought them just to see what they cost. Then once you've done that, now they're all over you.
Right.
Sponsored by the Florida Army National Guard, aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
But now it's the Bionic Flex Pro hose I'm looking at.
It's the worst thing that ever happened.
1995 plus free shipping, David.
And hide the women and children.
Hell, it could be the
This is
sponsor of the
Mark
Good, the Bad, and
Miller's
Ugly.
Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly today brought to you by Jacobson's Department Store with locations in Fort Myers and Naples. If it's a special occasion, shop Jacobson's. I know I did with my mom. Big Michigan, Florida department store there. Bell Tower and we think Waterside shops, David, due to the checking that was going on. For the good, we go to California where a bear went all molten.
What does that mean?
Adina Badu was leaving the Safeway grocery store with her cart when she nearly ran into the bear. And she kind of screeched when she nearly walked into the bear, and she then got to her car. The bear didn't pay much attention to her because the bear was hungry, David. Apparently, after going to the trash can, the bear walked into the grocery store, grabbed a bag of Tostitos, and walked out without paying. If you just grab them and act like it's yours, who's going to stop you? Tostitos, a canoe? It doesn't matter.
Right. I'm actually more offended about stealing the Tostitos than the canoe. I think a little something for the effort for stealing the canoe.
Well, absolutely, but you're not a bear.
Right. Right.
For the bad, David, we know you lost a phone at the airport. We've talked about it many a time on this show. But
I lost a kidney in May, but
right. But according to the Transportation Security Administration, travelers at 75 airports lost $926,000 last year. That's how much money was left at airports.
Wow.
$926,000, including $19,000 in foreign currency.
How much of that do you think was I lost the wallet and therefore I had X amount of dollars in the wallet?
Oh, it's got to be 60, 70% of it. Lost it or it was stolen by one of the TSA agents.
Right. And most everybody got it returned except me.
For the ugly, we go to Detroit, where a 20-year-old lady did not respond to Southfield Fire Department paramedics when they came to the house. After 30 minutes, they determined that she was dead. There was no foul play or no indication of foul play, so the Oakland County Medical Examiner Office was contacted given the data. The patient again was determined to have expired and the body was released to the funeral home of that choosing. Hours later, at the James H. Cole Funeral Home, something strange happened. That's when Tamisha Beauchamp started breathing. That's right. They said she was dead when she got to the funeral home and they were about to embalm her. She opened her eyes and started breathing.
I heard this story yesterday. It's
still in critical condition and still in the hospital, but she is alive.
Here's the part of it. It's one thing to get by one layer of defense, but she went through two.
Yes.
Right. Exactly. That's the part of this that's most freak you out about it. Well, somebody was doing CPR and they I think she's dead, and they stopped. There was then a second, oh yeah, she's dead. Oh, turns out you guys are wrong. Can I ask a question? How is that possible?
I don't know.
I mean,
But
as we like to say, Mark, on this show, are you jerking my bobber?
And she was not jerking anybody's bobber. She was unresponsive. They said no foul play. I read 6 different stories to try to see if there was drugs or something along those lines. It is bizarro land because when I see it on TMZ, I got to dig a little further. I ended up at WXYZ in Detroit. That's Channel 7 there, David. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, August the 25th. This is 2020.
Is that ABC 7 in Detroit, Mark?
Yes, it is.
I'm telling you, if you're a Channel 7, apparently you have to be ABC.
And virtually the same logo as the one here for a lot of years, too.
Yep. I worked for, one locally. I worked for another one. Oh, yeah. It's unbelievable. Miller and Moulton. Lightning Bruins. Does Tampa even this thing up today?
Yes, they do. This thing's going 7. I don't know who's winning it, David, but I really believe this is going 7.
Well, I hope so for hockey's sake. I really do, because this series could be better in the finals.
Well, and I think for hockey's sake, it would be nice for the Flyers to start scoring some goals because the Islanders might be more entertaining, but the Flyers are going to definitely get more eyeballs.
Agreed and agreed. Miller and Moulton. Bruins Lightning at 7 tonight, by the way, on NBC SN. Thanks so much for listening. The Dan Patrick Show is next. This has been Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All right, you guys have a good day. We'll be here tomorrow.
All right, Giro. Thanks, man.
All right, Giro.
All right, let's get to some of. I didn't see some of these, so it looks as if
Pick 5 pairs of Warby Parker Franks, and they'll send them to your house for free.
David, they said don't shortchange the low carb pizza dough. It can be amazing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have a major pizza bias because of where I grew up. I can't. I can't go there.
Little Caesars in 4 seconds. Don't give me a pizza bias.
Yeah, it's got to be real ingredients. I'm sorry. I'm not. I mean, no. Plus, also nowadays, here's the problem. Before, I could eat pizza all the time. I could eat crap. I could eat this. I could eat that. Now, I'm going to have pizza so infrequently. I can't go with the $6 Little Caesars, which I used to love, just to knock it down.
I got you. I just think you're being a little judgmental towards something new.
You're probably right.
That's all. Here we are, just trying to help you out a little bit with the food you love, and this is
I appreciate that. But now now when it comes to pizza, and I'm going to be snobby. I am from now on because I'm going to have it so infrequently. Knee bracer there. we're all waiting for Rask's absence to be a factor. So far, he's played well, and the team around him keeps playing better.
That's the thing that scares me. They just keep looking better and better.
And Halak's not a backup. Now, he's not a good number one. He's an average one, but he's not a two, if you know what I mean. Like, quite frankly, what's going on with Dallas, Kudobin is not a one. Kudobin's a good two, but he's now playing like a one right now.
Holy.
Now, I think Kudobin's the guy, Mark, wasn't he with the Blades? He came through the ECHL, or was he with the Stars Texas team? I remember seeing Kudobin against the Blades, if not with the Blades.
Well, I've still pretty much been in anti-Blade go-to-game mode, so I'm checking right now.
I could have sworn Kudobin came through the 239 playing in the Echo.
That's Hockey Reference. I did not get Hockey DB. They only do sorry, I had the wrong one. Hockey Reference just gives me NHL. Yes, right. He played 33 games. You are right.
With
Florida Everblades.
Yeah.
He played because he came with that jerk-off coach.
Right, from Texas.
Yeah.
Right, around 2010, 2011, something like that.
Such an asshole.
Yep, the guy who replaced Jerry.
Yep. Hang on. That name's I hated him. I can't think of that guy. He's the smartest hockey guy ever. Just ask.
He only lasted 2 years here. He beat
him down in the regular season. It was a playoff joke all the time.
Yeah, well, his one he had a team that at least should have gone to the finals here his first year, and he ran him into the ground by the second round.
Well, he did it with Texas the year before. I mean, this kid was 21-4 when he played for him in Texas. Not 21-4, 20 wins, 1 loss, and 4 OTLs.
Yeah, but knee brace. What we're saying though is because Carolina has been loaded with goalies this decade, so there was no spot for him. He just followed this one coach around, first in Texas, then he came to the Blades. Then
it's only his second year in Dallas. Not been with the Stars a while. That's actually incorrect. He was with Boston in 2018. He was with Dallas in the 18-19 season and the 19-20 season. That I'm looking at it right now.
But Kudobin's a journeyman.
Boston, Anaheim, Carolina, Boston. Right. Minnesota before that. I mean, he is
he's a journeyman. He's a really good two. He's a solid journeyman backup goalie. And yet he's been their guy. I mean, he's replaced Bishop.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder though, and God,
look, I think and I feel so badly because I want Ben.
I know. Well, and you and I are we're afraid he's going to get fired. That's my fear.
I think he gets a break because the two guys that got hurt. I mean, I really do. That defenseman's a top 5 defenseman in the game right now. That kid's unreal.
You're right. He's a 25-minute a night guy for them. And he's their number one.
Right. I mean, McKinnon last night. McKinnon just runs guys over. Kmart and Sears would work. By the way, Cash and Carry's still been around. Cash and Carry and Food Lion are still around, just not here. All right. I got to get to gymnastics, kids.
Oh, that's right.
Last one before we go to afternoons with school starting.
All right.
Big day today. See if the lady that runs a gymnastics place gives me 4 dirty looks or 3.
Holtby's gone because they're ready to play their backup. B, they've got major cap issues.
Yes.
A bunch of veterans are going to be replaced on that team. But the GM has to blame the coach, even though his roster's become old, expensive, and slow. But it's Reardon's fault.
Interesting. All right, I got to do some fire alarm work as well. Hopefully that stays off all day because it'll drive the dog nuts if it happens while I'm gone.
Go find that spider web.
Goodbye.